This fluffy bandit strikes terror in the hearts of every small creature it meets. It's a tireless hunter whose belly is a hunger-fueled bottomless pit and whose domain is constantly expanding. Or is it an adorable magical creature who has charmed the hearts of millions? This cutie has many faces, and they're all masked. This is the raccoon dog.
Hi, I'm Danielle Dufault, and you're watching Animalogic. Today, we're talking about one of the cutest and fluffiest animals I've ever seen. They're also kind of the black sheep of their family, but it's really not their fault.
Raccoon dogs are canids and are distantly related to dogs and wolves, though they're more closely related to foxes. They're the only members of the Nyctectorus genus, but within the genus, their taxonomy is a mess. They're found natively in Japan and continental East Asia. Some scientists believe that the Japanese raccoon dog, also known as tanuki, is its own species, while others say it's just a subspecies. Others yet again say that only some of the Japanese raccoon dogs are different enough to be considered a separate species.
Of course, that doesn't really matter much to them. All they really care about is food, and who can blame them?
These hungry creepos have the most varied diet of all canids. They pretty much will eat anything, from roots to fish to birds.
They have a more well-balanced diet than me. And as a type 1 diabetic, I do pretty good.
Rodents such as gerbils and voles are commonly taken throughout their range. In swampy areas, they eat turtles and poisonous frogs and protect themselves from the toxins by producing extra saliva to dilute the toxins.
Yep, they drool themselves into being immune to poison.
During the winter, they're able to supplement their diet with carrion and, weirdly, feces. Why's it always gotta be feces?
This very diet might give them a bit of bad breath, but it helps them survive the cold winter months.
Though they have more survival skills than just having a black hole for a mouth, these ninja-like cuties are masters of stealth. Raccoon dogs are nighttime specialists. Despite their abundance, they're most often seen after dusk. This protects the young from diurnal predators such as eagles and humans. Their eyes are well adapted to low-light conditions, and their iconic black markings around their eyes help them reduce glare. This means that they're less likely to be blinded by bright sources of light. It's a tried-and-true technique that even soldiers and athletes use.
And most importantly, it makes them look like furry doggy bandits. Their resemblance to trash pandas is a classic case of convergent evolution. These two nocturnal, omnivorous mammals developed similar traits based on similar habits and needs.
Like raccoons, who survive the frigid North American winters, raccoon dogs have a dense winter fur that protects them from the temperatures as low as -25 degrees Celsius. But unlike their North American lookalikes, raccoon dogs hibernate to survive the lean months. They're the only canids to do so, and like other hibernating animals, they rely on fat reserves to take them through the winter. Raccoon dogs will go into hibernation weighing about 7 kilograms and come out weighing just half of that. Those who don't get fat enough are unlikely to survive the winter in the cold parts of their range, like in Siberia.
So don't be too harsh on them for wanting to eat the world during the warmer months. They need to get as big as a pug by the end of fall. Wait, that's it? They're tiny, but they look much bigger because of their fur.
Of course, they'll only hibernate when they need to, and those in the southern part of their range don't need to hibernate as long. These wintering adaptations have caught the eye of humans, who see in their fur a marketable product. They have been hunted throughout history to make coats and hats. Things took a turn in the early 20th century when Russian trappers brought them to fur farms in the western part of their country to make it easier to get furs without having to import them from thousands of miles away.
This was what we call in the business a pretty bad move. As we all know, these fluffy boys are gluttons and are capable of wiping out native species in just a few years. And that's exactly what happened.
Some of those raccoon doggies escaped their fur farms and started breeding in the wild. Since then, they have become invasive in Western Russia, the Baltic states, Finland, parts of Sweden, and throughout Central and Western Europe.
They've been observed as far south as the French-Spanish border, and the UK considers them a species likely to become invasive in the near future.
Of course, they're only trying to survive, and it's not their fault that they were taken from their native range. But they also pose a huge threat to local bird, amphibian, and reptile populations. Because of this, local governments are actively trying to cull them. But these guys are almost ghosts and are nearly impossible to catch without the help of hunting dogs.
You'd think that since they live in the same areas as bears, tigers, and Amur leopards, that they'd be considered an easy prey. But they're probably too small to be considered worth the hassle. The real bane of their existence is the wolf.
In eastern Russia, over half of all raccoon dogs are killed by wolves. Other canids, such as foxes and feral dogs, often take pups. And for trappers, their success rate increases from 10% to 50% when employing hunting dogs.
It truly is a dog-eat-dog world. Back in Japan, tanukis have a much better reputation and are the subjects of legends.
In local folklore, Japanese raccoon dogs have been said to possess supernatural powers, such as shape-shifting and the ability to possess people. These superpowers have been used in media, such as Super Mario Bros., where you can get tanuki powers to fly. The source of their power is thought to be their giant scrotums, which are prominently displayed in tanuki art.
So it wasn't that Mario was fat, he was just hiding his giant source of power in his pants.
Here at Animalogic, we leave no stone unturned. So we looked into it, and it turns out that the tanuki's stones aren't nearly as big as the folk art might lead you to believe.
But keep on thriving, you magical creatures. Try not to destroy Europe while doing so.
The chipmunk. Cute, cheeky, vicious predator? From adorable nut hoarder to tireless tunnel builder to ferocious snake killer. This neurotic, multitasking rodent has many jobs, and it excels at all of them. This is the cheekiest cutie in the world, the chipmunk.
Today, we're on the lookout for one of the most adorable and low-key deadliest animals, the chipmunk.
These cute little rodents look like tiny squirrels, but they have carved themselves a separate niche. Most squirrels are amazing climbers who spend the majority of their time in the trees. In some areas in North America, you can hardly look around without seeing a squirrel staring back at you with those cold, cold squirrel eyes. See? Chipmunks are a little harder to see because they live in burrows in the ground, and they're really good at hiding them. It's super hard to find a chipmunk burrow entrance.
But luckily, today I'm on a trail that's known to be prime chipmunk territory.
In my neck of the woods, there's only one species, the eastern chipmunk, which lives from southern Canada to southeastern United States. But there are over 20 other species found in North America, many of which are found in the diverse ecosystems in the West. There's also one species of chipmunk in Siberia, which has been introduced to Japan.
They all basically look the same. They're all brown with black and white stripes down their back. And they're all crazy cute.
This coloration helps them camouflage from predators by breaking the outline of their body. It's a necessary adaptation as they have a huge roster of potential predators. Owls, hawks, snakes, weasels, raccoons, even domestic cats and dogs are more than happy to have a chipmunk amuse-bouche.
And it's really no wonder they're so skittish. Their only real defense mechanism is hiding in their burrows.
They are fantastic engineers and can make burrows with separate chambers for debris, food storage, and sleeping quarters.
They even have separate chambers to store their feces. You know, gotta keep clean.
The burrows aren't usually very deep, but they extend parallel to the surface for up to 3 meters.
All of this was dug by a small animal who's only about as big as a little banana.
Whenever they're inside, they plug the entrance so well that they're nearly invisible. When they're digging a new burrow or chamber, they use work tunnels, which are separate from the main entrance. This helps them take out soil without creating conspicuous dirt mounds near their burrow entrance. To take dirt out, they put it in their mouth, which can expand greatly due to their elastic cheeks. These huge cheeks are also used to transport food into their burrow.
Just to give you an idea, the current chipmunk record holders have been recorded holding 70 sunflower seeds, 31 corn kernels, and 12 acorns. That's basically the equivalent of you holding an entire puma in your mouth.
But they can't get every little seed or spore. In fact, in North America, they're one of the most important means of dispersion of every fancy chef's favorite subterranean ingredient, truffle mushrooms.
Without chipmunks, truffles might not exist.
Of course, hours of digging and running around in the mud makes them very dirty, which is why they spend about half of their day cleaning themselves.
They can reach almost every part of their body with their teeth and tongue. Lucky!
And they also use the cat method of moistening their hands with saliva to clean the inaccessible parts like the back of their head.
Contrary to the lies that Disney told you about Chip and Dale, chipmunks never really live in trees, and they certainly don't live with their brothers. These rodents are fiercely territorial loners.
Every morning, chipmunks come out of the burrow, climb onto a branch about 2 meters off the ground, and chirp as loud as they can for about 10 minutes. This is a territorial call that can be heard for up to 200 meters away.
And it sounds like this. Which is chipmunk for, "This land is my land, kindly f*** off."
Their burrows have a max occupancy of 1, except for when mama has babies, or when females let males enter their domain to mate. Males, who are famously silly billies, often fight each other for access to the females for so long that they end up completely missing their chance to mate.
This is a stressful time for the females, not only because of the guys knocking at their door, but also because they need to get ready for pregnancy.
Normally, their diet is what you'd expect for a rodent. Seeds, nuts, some mushrooms, and whatever bug or worm that comes their way.
But during the mating season, something changes. They become miniature killing machines and start going after lizards, birds, and other rodents, all in search for a little extra animal fats and proteins.
But when they're really feeling confident, they'll go after something far more dangerous: snakes. Here in Ontario, eastern chipmunks are known to hunt northern water snakes. These snakes can grow to over 1 meter in length, over 5 times the length of a chipmunk. While not venomous, the water snake's pure bulk alone is a threat to the chipmunk. But this chippy is feelin' bold. She's searching the rocks for dinner. Avoiding the larger snakes, she gets lucky and finds a juvenile. Caught by surprise, the snake didn't stand a chance. And before it could react, the chippy was eating it from the middle out.
Which I think we can all agree is the weirdest possible way to eat a snake. Come on.
One of the adaptations they have that allows them to take on such dangerous prey are their highly advanced visual systems, which allows them to essentially see in slow motion. Chipmunks and other small mammals and birds have a higher critical flicker fusion frequency than we do. This basically means that their eyes refresh much faster than ours do, allowing them to process light much quicker and see it in a form of slow motion. This allows them to dodge the insanely fast strike of a highly venomous Japanese pit viper and retaliate before the viper can recover. And then eat the snake in the second weirdest way possible. Face first. Ugh.
Do they not know that the proper way to eat a snake is tail first? Or on a bun with spicy mayo? After their thirst for blood has been quenched, they go to their burrows to give birth.
Babies emerge about 6 weeks later, and a couple of weeks after that, they'll get officially kicked out of their burrow. Then they'll have to travel out on their own until they find an empty plot. But they'll have to be quick, as they'll need to find one before winter. Then eastern chipmunks will go into hibernation, and the western species will stay awake, but will have to rely on their food reserves. Going into winter unprepared is a death sentence. Only about 60% of eastern chipmunks will make it to spring.
But those who do make it will awaken to an abundance of food. And the entire process of eating seeds, digging burrows, killing snakes, and joining Alvin's cover band will start all over again.
Here we go! We are the chipmunks, chipmunks are we. We live in the woods, a happy family. We sing and we dance and we play. So come along and join the fun every single day.
Today, I've been slowly acclimatizing myself to a wolf, and right now we're about to have a face-to-face meet. But this wolf, it's not going to be on a lead or anything. So we're going to be very careful and see if this wolf forms a bond with me. Wish me luck. Crunchy wolf treat. Delicious quail.
This is the land of misfit animals.
We're here to see the Wolverine Man at the Crochel Nature Center.
The grizzly pushed this door in when I was sleeping right there last year.
The guy who runs this place, Steve Crochel, is kind of a local celebrity within the Yukon and Alaska. Oh, thanks.
Come on in.
He's got a lot of really interesting animals here. I don't know what to expect,
I have a quail in my pocket. Oh, yeah. Perfect.
but I know it's going to be exciting. Let's go see.
Mishka! Yell that out, Mishka, like that. Mishka!
Mishka!
Yeah, Mishka!
Mishka!
Yeah, Mishka! Say it a little louder.
Mishka!
Mishka!
Mishka the wolf is imprinted with humans, and today I'm just going to try and build a rapport with her so that tomorrow we might be able to take her for a walk.
Oh, the Mishka!
Hi, Mishka!
Yeah, the Mishka!
That's a
Oh,
Mishka!
that's a Mishka! Oh.
That's a good Mishka! Yeah!
Okay, give her this little piece.
Oh, Mishka!
Right there. Yeah, Mishka!
Oh, Mishka!
Yeah, the Mishka! There you go.
Now I just gave Mishka a piece of meat, piece of quail actually. So hopefully she'll remember me as a friendly source of food.
Yeah.
Mishka! Good girl, Mishka! Oh, you know, that's basically how I talk to my dogs too.
Yeah.
All right, I think that was a great first meeting with this wolf, Mishka. Mishka's still really young, and she's been in contact with humans since birth. So she is very trusting and comfortable around us. Still important to build that relationship, as with people, as with animals. I like people better after having a snack too, you know? All right, this is day 2 at the Crochel Wildlife Park.
Hold on.
Yesterday we were here and I got to have a quick introduction to Mishka, just so that she'd recognize my scent and what I look like and my sound. Today, we're gonna try and see if we can take Mishka for a walk.
Get Mishka!
She's rambunctious and excited. Let's do this! She's a little more nimble than I am in the snow. Oh, Mishka!
Who is that?
She's got your gloves!
Mishka! Okay, so she's got my mittens. And we're going for a walk, Danielle.
Yeah.
Mishka!
I can't believe I'm helping bring a wolf for walkies.
Wolves are powerful. 1,800 pounds of pressure per square inch in those jaws.
Could she drag you if she tried?
Oh, yeah.
So how old is Mishka the wolf?
A year. And her parents are orphans from the Brooks Range of Alaska. So there's very few orphan wolves in Alaska anymore. They don't save them like they used to. Mishka!
Well, I guess this wolf got lucky then.
Yes. Get Mishka!
Oh, you're tough to keep up with, girl. Look at that, she's beautiful. Like many other gray wolves, they start young and darker in their color, and as they grow older, they'll grow lighter and brighter and more gray and white.
I don't know how I'm gonna get my mittens back.
What if we ask really nicely?
Well, let me try. Mishka. Let's go up here and wait. Mishka! Get the Mishka! Get Mishka! Oh,
There we go.
get Mishka! Aren't they beautiful?
Just gorgeous.
You know, there are lone wolves that can be in packs, though, between 2 to 40. 40, can you imagine being a moose?
Oh.
Get me to know me.
She's so excited. There isn't an ounce of aggression in her right now.
Not now.
Doesn't mean she can't roughhouse and tumble. Oh yeah, she knows all about that.
Mishka! You gotta be submissive. Yeah, they're strong. Wolves are strong. But can you reach out with your mitten?
Hi, Mishka! Oh,
She wants it. Well, let's continue
Mishka.
on to a big play area. Here we go. Do you want to hold on to this?
oh, can I? Yeah.
But I mean, you can't let go.
Okay, let me wrap it around there.
You got it?
Okay, oh yeah, this is great.
Okay.
All right,
let's go.
Mishka!
Go then, Mishka!
Mishka! Woo!
See, are you doing okay?
She is so strong. She could pull me over and drag me if she wanted to. Woo!
Get down, Mishka!
Mishka!
She's pulling you. She's trying to.
Let's go!
She's encouraging. Get Mishka!
Mishka!
Okay.
Woo!
Go ahead.
Get tied up.
Oh. Okay. I'll take her from here. She wants to play. Here you go.
This wolf is full of beans, and I'm just trying to keep up. Mishka! Are you full of beans?
You know, about 25% of Alaskan wolves, Canadian wolves, are black.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of genetic variation. All right. I'm learning what the wolf training regimen is all about. And running in snow is no easy deal.
Take a break here. Let her sniff around.
Oh, what's she got there?
Go ahead and get closer and see if you can see.
Mishka, what do you got there? What's that? Oh, you found a pea spot.
Isn't that something how she found that? Because there's wild wolves around here.
Does she ever call out to them?
Yes.
As strong as this wolf is, a wolf is still no match for a wolverine. If you put one against the other, the wolverine would almost inevitably win. Just due to its lower stature to the ground, it can come up underneath the wolf and basically eviscerate it. Oh, I'm getting sniffs. Oh, now that situation is only if it's one-on-one. In the case of a wolf pack versus a wolverine, the wolverine stands no chance unless it can dig into a hole.
Yeah. Well, should we continue on?
Yeah.
Do you want to hold on to this
Oh my
again?
goodness, yes, let's go for walkies. All right, I gotta hold on tight. Mishka! Hi, Mishka! Oh, Mishka, let's go, yeah! Oh, Mishka!
on.
I knew that was gonna happen. There's just no way to tell exactly how deep the snow is, and it's completely irregular under this fresh powder. I dipped into a hole and went face first. Can't keep up with the wolf. Nope.
Studio F.
All right, Mishka. In we go.
Come on in.
All right. All right, so I'm just exiting my human enclosure, which was protecting me, and I'm about to see what it's like to run free with a wild wolf. This here should be safe, but I mean, this is a very big animal, and a wolf is not an animal that you should typically approach with such comfort. You need to respect their space. The only problem is they're not likely to respect yours. Oh, but she's being so good. Oh, she is so rambunctious. All she wants to do is wrestle over there. I mean, let's be honest, a wolf puppy is still a puppy. They want to rough and tumble and be naughty. It's just a little more dangerous to be naughty with a wolf. Oh, and she's about to be free. Oh, and she's free. Wonder if she'll come my way. Mishka! Dad, Mishka!
Yes, Mishka!
Mishka! Now the idea here isn't to challenge her, but definitely to present myself as being big and strong enough. She's chasing Steve over there, because Steve is her human.
You can come closer.
Okay. All right, so I'm being invited to go a little bit closer to the wolf. I am going to follow the lead that's given to me because I don't want to take any missteps. Now, the behavior of a wolf isn't that different from a domestic dog, but there's obviously some very key differences. Oh, she seems to like belly rubs.
Dancing with wolves now.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Oh. Her familiar behavior to a dog shouldn't be that surprising, because wolves and dogs share over 99% of the same genetic code. Yeah. Oh, just bounding through that fluffy snow. I'd be flat on my face in about 0.2 seconds. Mm-hmm. Oh, no! Hey, Mishka, are we trading places? That's the human enclosure, silly.
Okay, go up in there.
All right, I need to go get where us humans belong. Inside a cozy, sheltered area. All right, so we've got a little bit of role reversal right now, with me, the human, inside the enclosure, as you see, all around me, and Mishka the wolf running free outdoors. Now, because she is imprinted so well with her human, she can be trusted to be out there and always return. She knows where her source of warmth and food and love is. Steve here is basically her pack, so why would she ever leave?
Gotta go that way. Go that way. Okay, I'm gonna go over here.
All right, we're gonna give Mishka a treat. Yeah, let's go. See if I can catch this. Ooh, mittens, not so great at catching. Clearly, I'm no pro at baseball. We're gonna give this wolf a treat. We're gonna give this head first. Here you go. Delicious quail. Mmm. Ooh, there she goes. Crunchy wolf treat. Delicious quail.
Nature's nachos.
Crunch, crunch. What do you think of that, Mishka? After all this running and playing in the snow, she is hungry. Can't blame her. Before we left Mishka, Steve taught me how to howl like a wolf.
Now put your hands up like this. Tilt your head out skyward more. Keep going.
Armadillos are nature's tanks, if tanks were skittish and very cute.
Native to the Americas, armadillos are the only surviving members of the Cingulata order, and their closest extant relatives are sloths and anteaters.
There are 21 extant species of armadillo, the vast majority of which can only be found in South America. 2 species can be found in Central America, and just a single species, the 9-banded armadillo, has made its way up into North America. Armadillos range in size from the adorable pink fairy armadillo, which only measures 15 centimeters in length, to the giant armadillo, which, as its name suggests, is quite large and can measure up to 1.5 meters in length, including its tail. They are part of the Xenarthra superorder, and like their anteater cousins, their diet is made up primarily of invertebrates, with some species specializing in ants and termites.
Species like the 9-banded armadillo will even eat carrion if they have to.
In order to extract said ants and termites from their various mounds and hills, they have long, powerful claws. In addition to this, they have long, sticky tongues, which they use to pick up ants, termites, and other small invertebrates.
The various species of armadillo are most commonly described by the number of bands that they have in their armor.
These bands are attached to one another with flexible tissue, and the more bands an armadillo has, the more flexible they are.
Though it does come at a cost: security.
The South American 3-banded armadillo is the only species of armadillo able to roll up into a ball to protect their soft underbellies. When attacked, every other species prefers to run and hide, rather than relying on their armor as their first line of defense.
As their last line of defense, armadillos will use their long, sharp claws.
Their iconic armor is made of dermal bone plates, which are covered with little scale-like bones called scutes. Armadillos are susceptible to leprosy due to their low body temperature, which, incidentally, is the same as human skin, 34 degrees Celsius. Because of this, armadillos are vectors for the disease. In fact, leprosy didn't exist in the Americas before the Europeans got here, meaning that armadillos got leprosy from humans, and now they're giving it back to us. In the southern states, at county fairs, it's not uncommon to see an armadillo race. They're not great. The handling of armadillos at these less-than-okay races and in other human-armadillo interactions has seen a rise in leprosy being transmitted to humans.
Weeks ahead of time, the armadillos get in shape for the race at secret training camps. We were permitted to see just a few of the vigorous exercises and top-secret training techniques.
Many species of armadillo are quite decent in the water.
They can either hold their breath and walk along the bottom, or some species, like the 9-banded armadillo, will swallow a bunch of air and become buoyant. This fills their stomach and intestines, and it makes swimming much easier for them.
9-banded armadillos also have a quirky habit of jumping in the air when startled.
They can jump up to 1 meter high, which is unfortunately why they get hit by cars so often. 9-banded armadillos were the only successful armadillo in the United States, primarily due to their high reproductive rate. They regularly give birth to quadruplets.
The pink fairy armadillo is the smallest and objectively cutest armadillo.
They're about the same size as a squirrel and have highly flexible leather armor with 24 bands. They're primarily nocturnal and dig burrows. This behavior has led them to be classified as a subterranean armadillo.
Giant armadillos are the largest and can be found all over South America except in Uruguay.
Despite their large size, they prefer small prey, their favorite being ants and termites, of which they can eat an entire colony in a single sitting. They dig very large burrows, which after they vacate, tend to be used by other animals.
Unfortunately, giant armadillo populations are decreasing due to habitat destruction and hunting. The loss of the giant armadillo from their ecosystem will have a cascading effect, as other animals will lose their habitat engineers.
The screaming, hairy armadillo is quite possibly the greatest named animal. Its entire body, including its armor, is covered with scraggly little hairs, making them look like coconuts on legs. They can be found in Argentina, Bolivia, and Paraguay. They are excellent diggers and tend to live in habitats with loose, diggable soil.
Oh, and they scream when they're frightened. They're pretty great.
A master engineer that can build giant megastructures that benefit its ecosystem. A destructive agent of chaos that can wreck acres of farmland. Or a fluffy fur machine that's the prime material for fancy hats. This giant North American rodent has battled public perceptions for centuries. But today, we're setting the record straight. This is the symbol of Canada, the North American beaver.
Beavers are one of the most recognizable animals in the world, and today we're in Algonquin Park looking for some.
Their engineering prowess is legendary. Their flat, scaly textured tail is unique among rodents, and their effects on their environment are only surpassed by humans.
There are 2 species in the world, but for today's episode, we're going to focus on my neighbors, the North American beaver, Castor canadensis.
These guys are found throughout most of North America, from northern Canada to the southern United States.
Beavers are the largest rodents in North America and second largest in the world after capybaras.
Most adult beavers weigh between 20 and 30 kilograms, with some exceptionally chunky lads reaching the 40-kilo mark. While large for a rodent, they are still quite vulnerable to predators, and so they have evolved some pretty clever adaptations. Their eyes and ears sit almost on the top of their heads, allowing them to just stick the tops of their heads out of the water, minimizing the risk of being spotted by a predator. While they're pretty slow and awkward on land, in the water, beavers are speed demons, reaching up to 5.5 knots when swimming. That's a bit faster than Michael Phelps's top speed from an oversized pond rat. Paired with their oversized lungs, which allow them to hold their breath for up to 15 minutes. At the slightest sign of danger, the beaver can nope right out of there. Equipped with a nictitating membrane which allows them to open their eyes underwater, as well as hypersensitive whiskers, finding their way through the dark and mucky waters where they live is easy. Surprisingly, their nautical speed doesn't come only from their massive flat tails. They also use their powerful webbed hind feet. When they do spot a predator, before diving, the beaver will slap the water with their massive tail. This is a warning sign to other beavers to hide in the depths, as well as a way to spook the predator. Yet while their speed allows them to escape most predators, beavers prefer not to be spotted at all, which has led to their most audacious adaptation. They create ecosystems. Other than humans, beavers are the animal that modify their environment the most. They make dens, dams, and canals to improve their living conditions and survival rates.
Their most important feat is damming rivers.
To do this, they cut down trees and move hundreds of kilos of wood, rocks, mud, and grass to block the path of a river. This creates ponds, which are safer for beavers than shallow rivers, allowing them to dive to greater depths. The dams are usually about 1 meter wide and can be up to 500 meters long.
Most of a beaver's predators are terrestrial. Cougars, wolves, and bears are their main threats, so ponds like these provide safe refuge.
Other predators include eagles, lynx, and bobcats, but they mostly take babies. Who would eat a cute little beaver baby like this? If the beaver lives in a natural pond or a big enough river, they won't make a dam, as they already have the protection of deep water. But when they need it, they'll go to extreme lengths to make it happen. The longest known beaver dam is over 800 meters long. It's located in northern Canada and was discovered by a satellite surveying the area. Damming is such an instinctual behavior for beavers that researchers have played the sound of running water on a tape player, and a captive beaver felt compelled to start piling sticks and mud on top of the tape player to try and plug the leak.
Once the water is at least 1 meter deep, they start building their lodge. Beaver families work together and can build a lodge that's up to 6 meters wide.
Simple lodges can be built on the riverbank. They usually get some shade from nearby and are cooler in the summer. Open water lodges are more complex and sometimes have a separate dining area. The ceiling is sealed with mud, except for a breathing hole, and in the winter, the snow insulates it. The entrance is always underwater, but the living area is above the water level.
The third type of structure is the canal, which is much more rare and far less studied.
They dig these canals using the sharp claws on their front, non-webbed paws in order to connect separate ponds to shorten their commute, to get food from farther away from their lodge, and to move building materials between ponds.
They're like their own little underwater highways.
Beavers mate for life, and their lodges are usually home to 3 generations of beaver: the mated pair, their kits, and their yearlings. The kits are great swimmers after just 1 week, but their mom will carry them around either on her tail or in her arms. Aww! While they can swim, at that age they're still too buoyant to dive. Double aww! Beavers are quite social animals. In order to communicate with beavers that aren't in their family group, they create scent mounds at the edges of their territory. They bring mud up from the bottom of the lake or river and use their tail to pat it down around sticks. Then they mark the pile using the castor oil produced by their anal glands. It can have quite a distinct sound. Can we hear that again? Great, just great. These mounds also make it easier for the beavers to slide in and out of the water. And they're quite popular among other species too. After about 2 years, the young beavers will move out of their parents' house and start looking for a partner of their own. If they're lucky, they'll find a suitable partner, and the courtship will begin.
Because of their amazing tree cutting and building abilities, most people think they just eat wood pulp, but their diet is far more varied than that.
They have the ability to digest wood pulp, but when available, they go for herbaceous plants, such as water lilies and cattails. Their favorite barks come from the apparently delicious aspen and poplar trees. This diet of wood pulp is key, as it keeps their incisors worn down. A must, as they never stop growing. To digest all that plant matter, they have a cecum, a compartment in their digestive system that is full of cellulose-loving gut bacteria. These gut bacteria break down hard plant matter and turn it into more digestible compounds for the beaver. They spend the summer months collecting food for the winter and bringing it into their lodges, where the frigid winter waters preserve the nutrients in their hoard, like a refrigerator. In addition to their natural cold stores, they also build up fat reserves in their tails.
In case you're wondering, it's hard to the touch, like rough leather. Speaking of the cold, lean months, beavers have a double coat to help keep them warm in the cold North American winters.
They have a layer of soft inner hairs and a thicker layer of long, coarse hairs on top of that, which are then covered in an oil called castoreum to waterproof them. Unfortunately, their fur almost cost them their life from the 1600s to the 1800s. Their fur was highly valued in Europe, where it was used to make felted fur hats. At the peak of the beaver fur trade, over 80,000 beavers a year were trapped and sent to European haberdasheries. On top of that, castoreum became commonly used in perfume and food due to their vanilla scent.
Their population crashed from 200 million to the brink of extinction. Luckily, environmental protections as well as changes in fashion styles saved them. They have since recovered to a population of about 10 to 15 million, which is still less than 10% of their original numbers. Their return has also meant a revival of rodent engineering in America and the animals that live in beaver-made homes. Beavers literally build ecosystems. All of that plant chomping has a profound effect on the environment. And unfortunately, that's not always great for humans.
In some areas, their dams flood agricultural land and destroy crops. They can also knock down trees in public parks or near houses. In areas of human-beaver conflict, beavers are usually removed, especially in areas where they were introduced and have become invasive, such as Patagonia.
But to other animals, it's a crucial part of their survival, as it provides protection from predators and a constant source of food.
Waterfowl, for example, do much better in beaver ponds than in rivers or larger natural ponds. Duck populations are up to 75 times larger in areas with beavers than without.
Swans and geese like to make their nest on lodges on the safety of a stable structure far away from predators.
But most importantly, it provides homes to amphibians and fish. These beaver ponds provide safer and richer environments than deep natural ponds or shallow rivers. In some rivers in Washington state, it has been found that the disappearance of beaver ponds causes a decrease in salmon populations of up to 90%. The ponds also act as protection against wildfires, stop soil erosion, and accumulate soil, which makes the area fertile for aquatic plants. In Yellowstone, the reintroduction of beavers combined with the reintroduction of wolves led to more beaver ponds being made, and a resurgence of waterfowl and fish in the park. This created a domino effect that saw a massive increase in the park's biodiversity, bringing it closer to the numbers it was once home to. All of this was just a byproduct of the beaver wanting to be better at hide and seek.
So what's not to love about these fuzzy engineers? They fully deserve to be the symbol of Canada. Well done, little lads.
How did these deadly savanna killers turn into this? In the grasslands of Africa and Asia, these wildcats are feared. Unmatched stalking skills, camouflage to sneak up on any prey, fangs and claws sharp enough to shred anything in their path. And yet, as they got closer to us, their behavior changed a little bit, but their appearance changed a lot. What turned these rugged murderous cuties into cuddly murderous cuties? This is the mystery of the domestication of the cat.
As hard as it is to imagine, a world with cats as we know them is a relatively new invention. The construction of the pyramids is as close in time to us as it is to the appearance of the first domestic cat. In evolutionary terms, that's the blink of an eye. The domestic cat's ancestors were territorial hunters that were terrified of people. So what changed to make us open our homes to these solitary hunters and for them to walk on through that door? The story begins with our main character, the African wildcat, or Felis sylvestra libica if you want to be formal. That's where Sylvester the cat got his name. They're a bit taller, leggier, and definitely more athletic looking than most domestic cats. But the resemblance is hard to miss. You'll find them roaming savannas and grasslands across Africa, stretching into the Middle East and into parts of Western Asia. This little predator is to house cats what the wolf is to our modern-day dogs. Like most felines, the African wildcat lives a solitary life, roaming and hunting on their own, and tolerating other wildcats just to make more wildcats. They eat mostly rodents and birds, but if the stars align, they can take down antelope fawns. For a long time, the cat domestication story seemed very straightforward. Cats were domesticated by the Egyptians around 3,600 years ago, just a couple centuries before King Tut. That's where we see the paintings, the statues, the mummies, their absolute stand-level obsession with all things kitty cat. But newer research suggests that wasn't the origin story at all. In 2004, archaeologists uncovered a grave in Cyprus, where a human was buried alongside a cat around a whopping 9,600 years ago. That, along with genetic evidence, showed that cats had cozied up to humans thousands of years earlier than we thought, likely in the Fertile Crescent, just a boat ride away from the island, long before Egyptian art made them famous. It turns out that all of these traits of the African wildcat, their hunting skills, their range, and their opportunistic style, put them in the perfect position to bump into our other main character, a little friend we like to call humankind. This was at the dawn of a pretty important landmark of our story. 10,000 years ago, in the very same neighborhood where the African wildcat lives, humans were inventing farming. We were shifting away from the hunter-gatherer lifestyle, building settlements, and starting to grow crops like wheat and barley, and eventually livestock too. With these new settlements, humans didn't have to do as much running around. That meant surpluses of grain, and where there's grain, there's rodents. For wildcats, it must have felt like winning the lottery. Their weird, bald-ape neighbors were bringing them an unlimited amount of furry treats for them to munch on. A cat's dinner in the Fertile Crescent came in the form of some pet shop-style cuties. Mice, gerbils, hamsters, and one of my favorites, the jerboa. Sure, I see an adorable kangaroo-bunny mouse hybrid, but the African wildcat just saw an easy, bouncy snack. Over time, the cats that were less scared of humans thrived, getting more food and raising more kittens. In a nutshell, that's how wildcats turned into house cats. But there's a bit of a jump between wildcats living among humans and then physically changing into the domestic kitties we know and love. In terms of domestication, the route the cats took is pretty wild. Domestication is more than taming wild animals. It's also about selecting the traits we want them to pass on to their babies and breeding them to make ever more ideal kitties. The ancestors of most domesticated animals lived in herds or packs with clear dominance hierarchies. Humans could step in, feed them, reward the friendliest ones, and gradually steer the whole group. That's how wolves became dogs. Humans kept the friendlier, more docile wolves close, making them reproduce with each other, and by doing that, created a whole new species. But cats did it themselves. People weren't deciding which cats got to mate or where they lived. The ancestors of domestic house cats, like my buddy Nebs here, probably chose to live among humans because it worked in their favor, and theirs alone. Basically the cat version of your worst date. All take and no give. Didn't even ask any questions.
Early domesticated cats were likely like the feral farm cats of today, mostly doing their own thing. Humans liked them for their mice hunting skills, which made the relationship at least somewhat mutually beneficial. You know what they say, the enemy of my enemy is a wild animal that will slowly turn into my best friend, but will bite and scratch me every once in a while.
But there's another factor. Cuteness. I mean, come on, look at this.
Scientists call it neoteny, and it's adorable. It means keeping baby-like features into adulthood. Cats with round eyes, compact noses, and playful movements hit our caregiving instincts just like a human baby would. Sometimes even more. These traits aren't unique to domestic animals, but humans tend to love them, and that gives cats a real advantage. Compared to their wild relatives, these house cats look like babies for much longer.
It's more than just their cute kitten-like features that domesticated cats exploited. Some of their behaviors play the same card, like meowing. Did you know that adult wild cats don't meow? It's a strictly kitten thing. Domestic cats just kept meowing and turned it on us. Basically, baby talk turned into a negotiation tool. And they only do it to us, not other cats. They even evolved to meow in the same frequencies as human babies cry. They literally hacked into our brains to make our parental instincts kick in so we take care of them. And they do it a lot. Yes, Nebs, I know you're watching this. I'll be home with your treats soon.
Purring started as a nursing sound too, and even kneading, that making biscuits motion, began as a kitten's behavior to make their moms feed them milk. It's both a leftover instinct and a surprisingly effective spa treatment. Over time, these semi-domesticated weirdo roommates followed humans as they traveled and traded across the Middle East, eventually arriving in ancient Egypt, where they reached legendary status. In the Fertile Crescent, we mostly understand that cats and humans lived alongside each other. But it's the art from the time they hit Egypt, around 3,500 years ago, that shows humans, from temple priests to royalty, had gone full-on cat lady. But not only were they cuddly companions, in Egypt they were elevated to deities, like Bastet, the goddess of cats, daughter of Ra.
It's actually kind of a really cool tattoo, reserved for the most hardcore cat lovers. Let me know in the comments if you have a Bastet tattoo.
Her yin and yang energy, gentle, playful cat by day, fierce protector by night, made Bastet one of the most revered deities in Egyptian religion. Entire temples were built in her honor, and families kept cats as a way to connect with her spirit. Harming a cat was even considered a crime against the gods. But there was a darker side to this devotion. Mass amounts of cat mummies have been found by archaeologists, measured by the ton. Some of these cats were sacrificed in religious rituals.
But the sheer volume of cat mummies is morbid proof that for the first time, humans were keeping tons of house cats and they were thriving, until they go meet Ra.
You're probably picturing the majestic cats in Egypt as mythical looking, dramatically spotted, winged eyeliner, and maybe even hairless like the Sphinx cat of today. But we here at Animalogic are committed to debunking long-held cat myths. And maybe disappointingly, but in some ways relatable, genetic evidence suggests that the venerated cats of Egypt were probably classic striped tabbies, not a lot different from the average alley cat of today.
So when did cats start developing the variety of colors and patterns we see today? The answer is, weirdly, very recently.
After the Egyptians worshipped the house cat around 3,500 years ago, felines continued to spread across the world. In the Far East, around the 14th century, one of the earliest recognizable breeds began to emerge, the Siamese. Humans actually had no hand in their development. Instead, their unique appearance developed through a process called genetic drift. It's when a small, isolated population develops random new traits simply by chance. Siamese cats are actually partial albinos with heat-sensitive coloration. They are born white, but as they grow older, their cooler extremities develop darker fur, forming those signature points. Their almond-shaped blue eyes, slender bodies, and short, fine coats also emerged naturally. In the Far East, there are no local wildcats to interbreed with and keep them looking like vintage cats. So domestic cats went their own way, gradually accumulating the unique coats and patterns we recognize today. Are you sensing a theme here? Cats like to do everything themselves. But if we know humans, we know that they can never keep their noses out of anything for too long. So of course, they had to get in there and make their own mark on our feline companions. In the early 1800s, artists and naturalists like Harrison Weir were documenting cats and noted that breeders were selecting for looks rather than hunting skills or usefulness. It was during the 19th century, mostly in the British Isles, that humans pounced on the trend. So let's lace up our corsets, tip our bowler hats, and take an imaginary ride to the Crystal Palace in London, 1871, to witness the very first cat show showcasing human-created breeds. Around 170 cats were entered, some from pedigree breeds, but also some regular house cats. They were judged both on looks and personality. The winner for Best in Show was a blue Persian, owned by a Mrs. H.P. Villet, but for some reason nobody recorded their name. A bit sad. No wonder it was blue. Since then, cat breeding has mostly been about aesthetics. Hair length, color, pattern, or even one with a whole body wax. But it's important to remember that beyond differences in fur and coat genes, there's barely any genetic variance. Most cats could practically slip into a wildcat colony and nobody would bat an eye. Except, of course, for the occasional weird meow when they spot a bipedal human. Or maybe to politely request a sweater for the hairless one. And unfortunately, many domestic cats do that. Domestic cats harm wildlife not only by killing it, but also by mating with it. This is when domestic cats mate with wild cats and make them lose some of the adaptations they need to survive in the wild. The poster child for this is the Scottish wildcat. Once abundant, it's now functionally extinct in pure form, with only about 100 individuals left. Most wildcats there are now hybrids, which means millennia of evolution was erased in just a few hundred years. Dogs, on the other hand, are a completely different story. Bred for thousands of years to herd, hunt, pull sleds, and even rescue humans, they now come in wildly different shapes and sizes. A tiny Chihuahua and a massive St. Bernard might both be dogs, but functionally, they couldn't be further apart. Dogs are engineered for function in all shapes and sizes. But cats? They're still basically the exact same stealthy, silent hunters their ancestors were, just with a makeover. In the last 20-ish years, advances in artificial insemination and in vitro fertilization have allowed breeders to cross domestic cats with wild species, producing hybrids like the tough-eared caracat and the leopard-spotted Bengal. Nebs is a Bengal. Bengals are mixes of domestic cats with Asian leopard cats. They're beautiful, but if you're thinking about adopting a cat, consider a regular cat from your local shelter. One of the keys to the cat's success is that even though they're cuddly pets, they're also perfectly able to catch prey on their own. This, unfortunately, is a huge problem in areas where wildcats aren't native. Domestic cats in urban areas eat a lot of birds. In North America alone, cats are estimated to kill 2.5 billion birds every year. That means that over 2/3 of all bird deaths in the region are caused by cats. On top of that, they kill over 10 billion small animals a year. Many are rodents, but some are frogs and reptiles, which are not as abundant. There are several bird species like the Canada warbler, the wood thrush, and the piping plover whose numbers are crashing in part due to cat predation. When cats are left outdoors, they can become feral and invasive and cause immense ecological destruction. Feral cats and outdoor cats have been cited as the main reason for the extinction of over 60 species. The damage is especially catastrophic on islands, with birds that didn't have natural land predators. Today, cats kill over 1 billion endemic Australian animals a year. Because of these devastating numbers, the Australian government is trying to cull 2 million feral cats to protect the local wildlife. In New Zealand, they're part of the Predator Free 2050, which is trying to get rid of invasive predators like cats, stoats, and possums to protect the local birds. So please, keep your cats indoors. This is needed for bird populations to recover. And even though they have the genes to survive in the wild, as long as you give them lots of love and attention, they have richer, healthier, and longer lives indoors. Back to the history of their domestication, new genetic research is starting to challenge some of the current beliefs about cat domestication. For example, scientists are beginning to find evidence that the cats in the Fertile Crescent may not have been the ancestors to today's house cats. Instead, these early felines were a different species altogether and may have been useful to humans for food and clothing rather than companions. However, these theories await confirmation and are pending genetic analysis of ancient Egyptian cat remains. Today, domestic cats are everywhere. An estimated 600 million to a billion of them roam the planet from pampered pets to feral colonies. It's wild, pun intended, to watch the glow-up of these clever, self-domesticating hunters who went from African wildcats to cultural icons in Egypt to global soft and fuzzy companions, and in some cases, back to global invaders. So whether you're admiring a Bengal's spots, watching a feral colony, or just cuddling your house cat, remember, these little hunters may be tiny, but their story and impact is enormous.
In the world about us today, there are about 500,000 species of animals. Most of these were domesticated by man before history began.
It took thousands of years to tame them, but these animals returned to their wild ways in a hot minute. This is the other side of domestication. These are the feral animals. We've talked before on the channel about the domestication of animals, but what happens when domesticated animals rewild themselves?
There are about 50 species of animals that have been domesticated by humans. To be successfully domesticated, animals need to have 6 characteristics. They need a diverse appetite, but doesn't overlap too much with human food. They need to grow and mature quickly to make it worth it for humans to invest the time and effort to raise them. They have to be willing to breed in captivity and be docile enough to handle. And they need to be social creatures, and ones that don't get too scared by their human captors.
Feral animals, on the other hand, are previously domesticated creatures that have escaped captivity and have the ability to survive without human care.
If you live in a city, you're no stranger to the feral pigeons all around you that are descended from domesticated rock doves. You'll also know that these scrappy birds don't need a lick of human care to thrive. Except all of our garbage. But that's really stretching the definition of the word care.
OG Animalogic fans will remember that our second episode ever was on pigeons. It was actually our first episode, but they aired out of order. That's neither here nor there. I love pigeons, and thankfully the rest of the world might soon be catching up.
Pigeons, love or hate them?
Hate them.
A scourge on the city. Get rid of them. They're a nuisance. Look at all the crap on the ground.
They're really dumb.
They're really ugly.
Well, Maybe not, but I love pigeons, and so do my friends Lucas and Laura from No Brainers, who I'm super excited to introduce you to. They just released an episode on the tragic origin story of the pigeon, and they take to the streets to seek justice for this once important animal. And Lucas becomes a foster dad to a baby pigeon called Cinnamon. Oh my gosh, which one? The video's hilarious and informative. You're gonna love it.
Do you mind if I ask you a few questions about pigeons?
Please go subscribe to their channel and watch their video on pigeons by clicking the link here, or by following the link in the description and leave a comment saying I sent you.
And while you're there, check out all the other awesome videos on their channel. No Brainers is a group of non-experts that tackle all sorts of questions, from engineering to biology and psychology. They're very funny and full of curiosity and energy. If you like Animalogic, you're going to love No Brainers.
Don't forget to click the link in the description and subscribe to their channel. They'll appreciate the support. But now back to more animals that have rewilded themselves. The word feral itself comes from the Latin fera, meaning wild beast. But feral now means anything that can be domesticated and has returned to the wild, including plants. Feralization is the opposite of domestication, which is the process of us humans adopting organisms through artificial selection. As you can imagine, artificial selection itself is the opposite of natural selection, which happens when organisms in the wild slowly adapt to their environment to survive.
Artificial selection involves humans controlling the breeding of domesticated organisms to achieve physical, and in the case of animals, behavioral traits that are more ideal for our needs. An example of this would be selectively breeding long and low-to-the-ground doggies, like dachshunds, to assist us in hunting burrowing animals.
More power, more dogs. And now Joe is the proud owner of a 6-dog-powered sedan. Under certain conditions, the Bow Wow buggy has some pretty peppy getaway, too.
Feralization is what happens when animals return to the wild and start reproducing without human intervention.
Often, these feral organisms will revert back to characteristics of their truly wild ancestors. Since feral animals often come from introduced species brought from somewhere else, when they escape domestication and return to nature, they commonly have a harsh impact on native ecosystems and have even contributed to the extinction of many endemic species.
So, now that we know the background, let's delve into some of the most iconic populations of feral animals around the world. We start our wild journey with pigs, which have turned out to be extremely successful if they manage to escape back into the wild. Highly invasive super pigs, or an ecological train wreck, as they've been immortalized in the media, have started to become a huge menace in Canada and the US.
The so-called super pig invasion.
Super pigs, the hard-to-eradicate animal, may be invading the United States soon.
Wildlife managers call this animal the worst invasive large mammal on the planet.
And they've been known to eat birds and even small deer. Experts say they are smart, elusive, and dangerous.
And as you can see, these animals have no problem adapting to cold weather.
A leading researcher says we've already missed the window to eradicate the pests and warns these hogs are a real risk to national parks.
Albertans are encouraged to squeal on pigs.
It sounds like they're just letting them go crazy. They're letting them go, Maggie, hog wild.
You just can't barbecue your way out of a wild pig problem.
These hard-to-eradicate feral pigs are self-made crossbreeds of wild Eurasian boars and domesticated swine. And they've adapted the best of both those lineages.
They have the tenacious survival skills of wild boars, eating whatever they find while tearing up land as they root for food. They are smart, adaptable, and furry, which is essential for surviving harsh winters without a human-made shelter. They even dig what have been dubbed pigloos into the snow to hunker down and survive the cold.
In addition to these wild boar qualities, super pigs also have the hyperfertility of their domesticated counterparts. By 4 to 8 months old, female super pigs are sexually mature and breed quickly, producing up to 12 super piggies a year.
Super pigs will eat anything they can get their snouts around, from crops like corn, wheat, and canola, to insects, birds, reptiles, and even small mammals.
They've been known to raid farms, and when they do, they come in trotters blazing.
They storm in, frightening and scattering livestock, and proceed to demolish their food. In addition to tearing up the landscape in their insatiable search for sustenance, they also spread disease to the domestic swine that they terrorize.
Neither pigs nor wild hogs are native to North America. Pigs were originally brought over in the 1500s by early colonizers.
Wild boars, however, have a much more recent history, being brought into Canada in the 1980s and 90s to diversify livestock and as something novel to hunt. How the turntables...
Australia had a similar issue with their feral pigs. Swine were brought over hundreds of years ago with the first colonists, and now over 45% of the mainland and several islands are plagued by these formerly domesticated pigs.
We were flying along the coast when we saw 3 large feral pigs and 1 young pig being followed by a dingo. As the hunt unfolds, you can see the damage to this country caused by the digging and rooting of feral pigs.
As every farm boy knows, pigs can't swim and don't want to learn. But although they said it couldn't be done, they didn't count on pig-headed determination. And once Missy got a taste of applause, all that natural ham took over.
On the slightly more sunny side of feral pigs, there are also the swimming pigs of an uninhabited island in the Bahamas called Big Major Key.
While there are many stories circulating as to how these pigs ended up on this island, no one knows for sure how it was overtaken by water-loving pigs. Their population has been estimated to be around 50 to 60 individuals, and they have become a major tourist attraction.
In an interesting twist, local residents of nearby islands now feed the swimming pigs. So these domesticated pigs who went feral have now come full circle and been tamed again.
Then man discovered that the wild horses roaming the plains could be tamed.
Moving across the barnyard now, let's talk about horses. Most of what we consider to be truly wild horses are actually just feral populations.
There is only one remaining wild horse species, called the taki, also known as Przewalski's horse or the Mongolian wild horse. This endangered breed of wild horse is endemic to the steppes of Central Asia, and because it was never domesticated, is infamous for being hard to handle and impossible to ride.
All of today's horse breeds that we consider wild in North America and Australia are actually just feral populations.
Once they go feral, they revert back to their formerly wild state, roaming in groups of 5 to 15 individuals, led by a dominant stallion and his posse of mares and their young.
The push and pull of domestication versus feralization is never far below the surface for horses, though. Feral males will often try and successfully recruit domesticated females, and feral horses are often captured and return quickly to a life of domesticity.
Horses began to be domesticated about 6,000 years ago, and have since had feral populations all over most of the world. From the Americas, to Europe, to Asia, Africa, and Australia.
In North America, horses were first introduced in the late 1400s with the earliest colonizers.
By the 1600s, herds of millions of feral horses, called mustangs from the Spanish word mesteño, meaning wild, roamed all over North America.
By the 1920s, mustangs were considered pests and were slaughtered indiscriminately. It wasn't until the 1970s when protections were introduced to save their dwindling populations. The Sable Island horses of Nova Scotia, Canada are another species that we're attempting to bring back from the brink of extinction.
Brought to the tiny island in the 1700s, these feral horses are now considered a naturalized species and part of the ecosystem of the island. In fact, visitors to the island are not permitted to feed, touch, or interact with the horses, which have been protected since 1961 and must stay at least 20 meters away from them at all times.
Wouldn't it be fun to find out more about farm animals?
Other farm favorites that have also rewilded themselves are cows and goats.
feral cows and goats exist throughout the world, on almost every continent. And, like many other feral species, threaten native species with their bad behavior.
In both of these cases, overgrazing and spreading disease to other livestock is a major concern. Some feral cattle populations can even be quite aggressive towards humans. We can't talk about domestic animals returning to their wild selves without discussing the world's top pets turned pests, cats and dogs.
Feral cats exist pretty much throughout the world and are categorized as individuals that actively avoid human contact. If you spend time with cats, you'll understand how their innate hunting skills, which are so adorable when they're attacking a catnip-filled toy, could translate to them becoming absolute apex predators in the wild.
In Australia, feral cats are the main driver for the extinction of animals, including species like the rusty numbat, the desert bandicoot, the broad-faced potoroo, and the crescent nail-tail wallaby.
Feral cats also put pressure on many species of lizards, birds, and frogs. For example, cats, along with human factors like trapping and overzealous burning of grasslands, caused the extinction of the paradise parrot.
Cats are not native to Australia and showed up as pets of the first colonizers. Now, their feral ancestors cover almost 100% of the continent. While cats may be one of humanity's most beloved animals, they are also considered one of the most invasive and destructive species on Earth. Feral dog populations are also destructive the world over. Feral dogs aren't to be confused with stray dogs, since feral dogs are born in the wild and have had minimal, if any, contact with humans.
These dogs return to their wild roots by running in packs, hunting and scavenging, and are difficult to train or handle, becoming quite aggressive when forced into contact with people. Like other feral species, feral dogs are also prone to spread disease. The dingoes of Australia, however, are an interesting example of long-ago feralization that has actually become beneficial to native ecosystems.
New studies show that these dog ancestors were brought to Australia as domestic animals by most likely Asian seafarers around 3,500 years ago. Because they've had so much time to integrate into Australian ecosystems, dingoes actually now play a role in the preservation of native species.
We were witnessing a pretty remarkable event. A dingo at full pace hunting one of Australia's worst feral animals. To the best of our knowledge, this is an event that has never before been captured on video. It provides a pretty unique insight into the hunting behaviour of dingoes and the role of Australia's top predator. The young pig is pretty quick and evasive, and our dingo looks like an inexperienced hunter.
From the early 1800s until today, farmers have considered dingoes to be pests. But there are several ways dingoes protect endemic species. First and foremost, they kill and outcompete small predators, like feral cats and red foxes, which are both more recent invasive transplants. Dingoes also control the populations of herbivores, like kangaroos, reducing grazing pressures on grasslands.
If you're starting to get the sense that Australia is riddled with feral animals, we haven't even gotten to the camels. From the 1870s to the 1920s, upwards of 20,000 camels were imported from the Arabian Peninsula, India, and Afghanistan to assist with expeditions into Australia's unforgiving outback.
At one time, nothing in science seemed so absurd as the supposition that there are people who live upside down with their feet above their heads.
The invention of motorized vehicles killed the camel industry in Australia, but the camels themselves remained and eventually became feral. Currently, there are over 1 million of these rewilded, single-humped ungulates wandering around the outback.
But feral doesn't just have to mean animals. Plants too can become feral or de-domesticated. These are usually crops that have escaped cultivation and have become free-living populations. Much like the dingoes, these populations may be seen as a threat or a boon, depending on which researcher you speak to.
It is frequently the case that feral crops threaten cultivated crops and can interfere with native ecosystems. In the US, for example, feral rice causes more losses to rice yields than the top 2 rice crop diseases. On the flip side, feral crops provide us with information about how these feral crops genetically evolve on their own, which has the potential to help us improve the breeding of their cultivated relatives.
Perhaps like the dingo, when given a few thousand years, these feral populations of plants and animals will naturally integrate into their non-native environments. Until then, we have to live with the consequences of our actions and try our best to correct the havoc that feral populations have wreaked around the world.
A stealth hunter whose eating habits rival those of medieval kings. A flying menace with some of the most advanced hearing systems in the world. A cranky fluff who could steal your heart and eat it too. This is the wise hunter of the Americas. This is the great horned owl.
Hi, my name is Aranya Iyer, and this is Animalogic's World of Birds.
Today we're at Hawkeye, a raptor facility in Ontario, meeting one of the fluffiest and crankiest birds in the world.
Meet Tank. This is the resident great horned owl.
Their name is a bit of a misnomer. Their horns are called plumicorns, and they're just tufts of feathers, which seem to be used for communication. Most of their close relatives in the Dubeau genus also have plumicorns, but they're most commonly found in Eurasia, where they're known as eagle owls. Their only other close relative in North America is the snowy owl, which is slightly larger, but it doesn't have Bella Hadid's brows, so it's not considered a horned owl. This makes the great horned owl the largest bird of its kind in the Americas.
Would it be possible for you to take him for a second? My arms are shivering, he's heavy. You might be wondering, why is he called Tank? That's because this bird is an apex predator. It'll take down anything in the forest.
As you can see, these guys are huge. They can get up to 2.5 kilograms with the wingspan of 1.5 meters, just a bit smaller than the largest owl in the world. Their tufted cousin, the black-and fish owl from East Asia. This size helps them catch a huge array of prey, including relatively large animals such as snowshoe hares, large lizards, and marmots. This diverse diet has led them to being nicknamed the red-tailed hawk of the night, due to the hawk's famously voracious eating habits.
There's also been accounts of these birds attacking porcupines. Now, it doesn't usually end well for this guy, but at least he tries.
Of course, their diet largely depends on their environment. In areas with relatively few mammals, they're more than happy to go for birds. Some of them are pretty large, such as wild turkey, ravens, and the bird who wakes up every day and chooses violence, the Canada goose. But their mortal enemies are the crows. Great horned owls and crows hate each other. For an easy snack, a great horned owl will swoop in and decapitate the crow. But if it gets away, the crow will call for backup. Soon, the murderer will arrive and mob the owl, diving at it, trying to knock it off its perch. If there's enough of them, they'll kill the great horned owl. It's pretty metal.
Now, if the prey is small enough, great horned owls will eat it whole. That doesn't mean that everything gets digested, though. Things like bones, nails, teeth, fur, feather, all of that will be regurgitated. About 15 hours after feeding, what they regurgitate is in the form of these tiny little pellets that if you're lucky enough to find one, you can actually dissect and put the bones together to see what exactly it was this guy ate. Perfect for date night.
Shake your booty, baby. One more time.
This hunting ability has helped them conquer the Americas. There are great horned owls from Alaska to Argentina. Their range was considered to be even larger, but the Patagonian population was determined to be a separate species and was named the lesser horned owl. A bit rude, but okay. Throughout their immense range, its appearance varies, but you can predict their size and color based on the local climate.
You might notice that Tank here is just a little bit lighter than the great horned owls that you see in photos. That's because he's a subspecies of the great horned owls from the subarctic. This lighter coloring helps them camouflage better in their environment.
In warmer and more humid climates, they tend to be darker, as that gives them better camouflage in forests. Additionally, humid areas are full of bacteria, and darker feathers are more resistant to them. Like in almost every other species, those individuals living in colder climates tend to be larger than their warmer weather conspecifics. This helps them keep more fat reserves for the winter. And by having a smaller surface area relative to body size, it prevents them from losing heat too quickly. In warmer areas, being smaller helps keep them cool. And since food is generally more abundant, they don't need large fat reserves. But when they do need to eat, they go hunting at night. Their senses perfectly adapted to find scurrying prey in the dark.
This guy, proportionally to its body size, has some of the biggest eyes in terrestrial vertebrates.
Their eyes are also cylindrical. This combination of huge retinas with a high density of light-sensitive rod cells and telephoto-like lenses gives them great acuity in near pitch-dark environments. But since their prey are also great at hiding, they have super sensitive ears that help them hear the faintest moves of their next prey. Their ears are asymmetrical, with one higher than the other. This helps them find the source of any sound in a 3D environment, which is particularly helpful for a flying predator. Once their prey is found, they attack.
These birds are silent but violent. They've got two features that help them move very quietly in the forest. One of those features is having really soft feathers. This means that when they ruffle around, they don't make too much of a sound.
The second one is their comb-like structures on the edges of their feathers. They decrease the amount of noisy, turbulent air produced when they flap their wings. For comparison, take a listen to the noises peregrine falcons make. And the loud flying of a Harris's hawk. Ugh, my ears. And then, listen to the soothing whoosh of the great horned owl's flight. If you're a forest animal, you can go from having a pretty good day to meeting your great-grandparents in the ancestral plane in a blink of an eye. But just being good at sneaking up on prey doesn't make you an apex predator. In the great horned owl's case, their killer weapons are their smoky-colored guns, their talons.
These birds are strong birds. Their talon strength can go up to 400 psi.
This makes them as strong as the famously grabby golden eagle, a giant raptor that can be 3 times as heavy as this owl. Hunting is not only used for sustenance, but also as a way to get a partner. Males court females by bringing them food. If she's impressed, they'll become a pair and will fly around looking for a nesting site. Talk about killing 2 birds with 1 stone.
These birds don't actually build their own nests. They steal nests from other birds of prey, like the red-tailed hawk.
In the colder parts of North America, they'll start nesting earlier than most other birds. They establish their nest in the late fall, and their babies are born in the winter, which gives them lots of time to grow and prepare for the next winter. This early breeding schedule is only possible by the relative abundance of hares that time of the year. So thank you, bugs. It's because of you that these cute babies can thrive and eventually become the apex predators of the forest. Before we go, let's take another look at fluffy baby owls. So ugly, yet so cute. Aww. This bird looks like it's been photoshopped, but I promise it's real. The greatest heron in North America. This bird knows how to work its best and weirdest feature, not just for a hearty meal, but also in the quest for love. We're talking, of course, about its long and stunning neck. This hopeless romantic is the great blue heron.
Today, we're talking about Ardea herodias, otherwise known as the great blue heron. Ardea in Latin stands for heron. Herodias in Greek also stands for heron. This just goes to show that the great blue is truly the heron of all herons.
The great blue heron makes catching fish look easy. But as we all know, not everything is as easy as it looks. So if you're struggling in your own life, maybe it's time to try BetterHelp, the sponsor of today's video. BetterHelp is a secure online network that helps to match you up with your own licensed professional therapist. BetterHelp's therapists offer a broad range of expertise, specialties that might not be available where you live. You can log into your account anytime, send a message to your therapist, and get a timely, thoughtful response. You can also schedule weekly video or phone sessions. Say goodbye to uncomfortable waiting rooms. BetterHelp wants to match you with a therapist that works best for you. So switching therapists is easy and free. BetterHelp is also more affordable than traditional offline therapy, and they offer financial aid. So visit betterhelp.com/animalogic. That's BetterHelp, and join the over 1 million people taking charge of their mental health with the help of experienced professionals. And for Animalogic fans, get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/animalogic. Because BetterHelp wants you to start living a happier life today. The great blue heron makes most of North America its home. It even resides as far south as Colombia. This species has the ability to adapt to almost any wetland in its range, making itself at home wherever it settles. Vagrants have even braved the Atlantic with sightings as far-flung as the Canary Islands and the Azores and France.
In 2007, a great blue heron juvenile was spotted on the Isles of Scilly in the UK. Talk about a long-haul flight.
This giraffical bird has several subspecies. Ardea herodias fanini, which lives in the Pacific Northwest. Ardea herodias cognata, which lives in the Galapagos Islands. And Ardea herodias occidentalis, otherwise known as the great white heron, which resides in the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean.
Who could blame them for wanting to make a tropical island their forever home?
These necky beckies are massive. An average adult is over 1 meter tall, with a wingspan of almost double their height. But despite their size, they're still lightweights at about 2 to 3 kilograms.
You were probably born heavier than that. I know I was.
That massive wingspan helps them achieve breakneck speeds of over 50 kilometers an hour. When flying, the great blue heron often pulls its neck into a characteristic S shape. This S-curved neck isn't just aesthetically pleasing, it also helps the heron catch its prey. Its neck acts like a spring-loaded weapon to propel its sharp beak towards its target. Herons are incredibly patient hunters, standing motionless, sometimes for minutes on end, to wait for the right moment to strike.
The prey of these expert fishers isn't just fish, though. They're also known to eat amphibians, snakes, turtles, insects, small water birds, and even mammals, like chipmunks and muskrats. Although its name makes it sound like it's experiencing a serious bout of depression, it's its size and great beautiful plumage that earns the great blue its name.
As adults, these tall drinks of water are covered in slaty blue feathers. They're adorned with a white crown, with a black stripe running back from each eye and merging beautifully into long black plumes. The crown and plume make up an erectile crest, which is a naughty-sounding collection of feathers that can stand at attention.
But those plumes aren't the only fascinating feathers these great blue herons feature.
The great blue has patches of powder down its breast and pelvic region. The heron will nibble on these specialized clusters of feathers, also called pulvy plumes, to turn them into keratin powder. They then spread the powder over other feathers to create a waterproof barrier. Pulvy plumes don't molt, but continue to grow as they are delicately munched off by the heron. Other species like parrots and tinamous also have these waterproofing plumes.
If you ever get the chance to stand next to a great blue heron and find yourself sneezing uncontrollably, you might be one of the lucky humans who is allergic to this fine feather dust.
Great blue herons were revered for their beautiful blue feathers, especially at the turn of the 20th century, when they were slaughtered en masse to make ladies' hats.
These feathers were so prized in the hat-making industry that in 1903, feathers were more expensive than gold per ounce. During this headwear craze, millions of great blues were slaughtered every year. This overhunting was so extreme that legislation was passed to end these kinds of exploitations. Unlike some other bird species, great blue herons display relatively little sexual dimorphism.
The only distinct difference between the sexes is that great blue heron males can be slightly different than their female counterparts.
Just when you started to think that males are always the pretty ones in the bird kingdom.
Instead of fancy feathers, these gangly Romeos have found other ways to show their romantic intentions to their potential mates.
They use their long and sexy necks.
Most individuals fly solo for the majority of the year, but come together during breeding season to form colonies, also known as heronries. And the heronry is where the magic happens.
There he is, there he is. They're so thin. Ah, too fast.
At the beginning of the mating season, the males arrive fashionably early at their traditional breeding grounds and scope out and defend their ideal nesting spot high in the trees. They often stake out old nests, sometimes returning to the same grounds for decades at a time.
A week later, the ladies swoop in, looking for love. Let the elaborate displays of courtship begin.
Males will stretch up their necks with their beaks to the sky. They'll snap their beaks. They'll circle the colony with necks outstretched. They'll make moaning calls. They'll reach their heads up and erect their neck feathers.
To the females, I guess the male's long neck is truly his sexiest feature.
Courting is a weeks-long process that ends with the male inviting the female into his nest, but only, of course, after some complex ritualistic bill fencing and stick displays.
Romance is an intricate game for the great blue herons.
But all this action helps the two lovebirds create a bond necessary to raise their offspring as a solid team. Once they've paired off, the male will gather sticks and carefully pass them to the female to place in the nest. They'll line it with moss, pine needles, or grasses, also gathered by the male.
They'll take turns incubating their clutch of 2 to 6 pale blue eggs, with the males sitting atop the eggs during the day, and the females taking over for the night shift.
Once the eggs hatch, they continue to co-parent until their little ones take flight 2 to 3 months later. Though the fledglings may still stick close to the nest for another 3 weeks or so, with mom and dad still providing the occasional snack. Great blue herons don't mate for life, so before that empty nest syndrome sets in, mom and dad will part ways and this hard-won romance will be officially over.
This pint-sized bird is the only bird of prey in North America that nests exclusively underground. While their name might have you thinking they're expert diggers, burrowing owls actually just steal their burrows from other animals. This is the only subterranean owl, the tiny terror of the prairies. This is the burrowing owl. Today we are in Grasslands National Park and we are looking for burrowing owls.
So right behind me is a very large prairie dog colony, and I think I just saw a smallish bird, kind of brown, fly off into the distance. The fact that we're near this prairie dog colony, where there are a lot of burrows, makes me think that what I saw was actually a burrowing owl.
These superb owls are a subspecies of the burrowing owl, which lives all the way from Canada to Argentina. Their preferred habitats are in the Caribbean, the North American plains, and the South American savannas, all the way down to Patagonia. There are 18 subspecies, and the local one, the western burrowing owl, spends the summers having babies here, and winters in warmer locations like Mexico and Central America. Although it may not look like it right now, this area gets ridiculously cold in the winter, with temperatures dropping to almost -40 degrees Celsius. In the summer, though, the weather is beautiful, the skies are blue, and the prey is abundant. Burrowing owls are amazing hunters. Equally lethal in the air and on the ground, these cute little killers specialize in small prey. Small rodents and large insects like crickets and beetles are their favorite meals. They have all the available bird tools to find their prey. Their heads are mostly eyes, which are optimized for low light settings. They're also unusual among owls in that they're active during the day, as their prey is mostly diurnal. It makes sense that we saw the burrowing owl just as the sun was going down. Even though it's a diurnal bird, they do tend to be more active during dusk and dawn, and we're just about nearing dusk. If we can hold on a little bit longer, we might get a chance to look at them again. Their ears, like in other owls, are asymmetrical, so they can pinpoint the location of their prey in the x-axis, like we can, but also on the y-axis, a helpful tool for a flying hunter. Underneath this grass, the land is teeming with animal activity. Some of them even become accidental engineers for burrowing owls. Their name comes from their nesting sites, which are built by other burrowing animals. Around here, they take up residence in the vast tunnel networks of their prairie dogs. A very characteristic behavior of burrowing owls is standing right on top of the mound of dirt that the prairie dogs have excavated for their own burrows. When you see the prairie dogs, you should scan the mounds to see if the burrowing owls are nearby. Their dens are lined with ungulate poop, usually from bison or cattle. This isn't some sort of Baroque decoration choice, but rather a practical solution that solves two problems. Number one, it helps to insulate the burrow and keeps the internal temperature relatively constant. And number two, it attracts insects such as dung beetles, which are then eaten faster than the blink of a bright yellow eye. It's kind of like the strategy used by the witch in Hansel and Gretel, but instead of a house made of candy, it's a hole full of feces. But if it works, it works. Being somewhat vulnerable to predators, they have learned to use the methods of another local burrow dweller, the rattlesnake. So right now, we're keeping a safe distance from the burrowing owl, but if we or other predators get closer to its burrow, it actually makes the sound that sounds like a little bit like a rattlesnake. That is an example of mimicry in order to scare away predators who might be coming inside to get at the eggs of the burrowing owl. They did not migrate all the way here just to have their eggs stolen by a bunch of mammals. Their dark brown coat actually helps them camouflage in this environment, which makes it great for the owl to escape from the predators, but makes my life about 10 times harder. Owl parents raise up to 12 chicks simultaneously. But wait, how does such a small mama owl fit so many eggs in her little body? She lays the eggs one by one, every 1 to 2 days over about 2 weeks. Then they'll hatch roughly at the same time about 25 days later. The chicks learn to fly at a month old, but the parents keep feeding them until they're 3 months old. By then, it'll be almost time to start making their way south to their wintering grounds. Given that the burrowing owl's range extends all the way from BC down to Florida, it actually overlaps with a lot of other owl species. If you're specifically on the lookout for burrowing owls, though, here are some characteristics that you should keep in mind. Burrowing owls are tiny, measuring only 9 inches tall. They're slightly larger than a robin, but smaller than a crow, and quite puny compared to other owls found in the Americas. Oh, he's heavier than the last guy. Wow, it is so much smaller than I thought it would be. It looks so similar to the ground dogs, but it moves in a different way and its structure is so different as it's standing on a mound. From this distance, you can tell that they don't have the ear tufts that you would usually expect owls to have, but they do have a very symmetrical round face. One unique characteristic of the burrowing owl is their legs. Usually, owl species like the snowy owls have short, stubby legs with very furry talons and claws. Burrowing owl legs instead are very long and skinny and don't have that much fur, giving them a very elegant but odd look. Unlike other owls, they also don't have a face disc, but they have these amazing white emotive eyebrows that always makes them look like they're just a little bit angry. They also use their eyebrows to signal distress. Lucky for them, burrowing owls don't have many reasons to be distressed, since they're doing much better than other owl species. Burrowing owls adapt really well to human environments and are commonly seen in farmlands, airports, and golf courses. The deforestation of the Amazon rainforest for cattle ranching has opened up new feeding grounds for them, even though it's causing the disappearance of thousands of other species. That doesn't mean that humans are always a positive force for the burrowing owls. In fact, diseases often come from industrial facilities. Right now, they're fighting avian flu, which originates in chicken farms and has taken a deadly toll on wild birds all over the world. Raptors like owls and hawks are especially vulnerable, and in most cases, it's lethal. Burrowing owls in zoos are currently off exhibit and in quarantine to protect them from this deadly disease. Humans also have a contentious relationship with prairie dogs. These rodents are often seen as pests and subsequently eradicated. But without them, burrowing owls and other species lose their primary burrow makers and their prime nesting areas. There are so many reasons to protect the burrowing owls. When you protect burrowing owl habitat, you also protect a host of other species. One example is that noise that you hear in the background, which are black-tailed prairie dogs. If we protect burrowing owls, we by extension also protect the habitat for this species. The second reason to conserve burrowing owls is that they are a natural pest control. The majority of their diet is made up of insects, such as grasshoppers. So when we conserve these burrowing owls, we're actually helping to maintain the balance in the ecosystem between the insects, the birds, and the animals. So there you have it, the cutest migrating killer in all of North America. An aerial threat that can kill and eat its prey in the bat of an eye. A subterranean dweller whose lair is lined with the bones of its enemies. This killer cutie will fly like an arrow straight into your heart. This is the belted kingfisher. Today, we're looking for the one, the only, the belted kingfisher. You've got to keep your ears open for this one. You might just hear it rattle right on by. Belted kingfishers are extremely successful predatory birds. There are over 100 species of kingfisher distributed all over the world. As long as there's a body of water, and it's not frozen, they're likely to be there. Not all kingfishers like wetland areas. There are some kingfishers that you'll find mostly in wooded or forested areas. Now, I know what you're saying, they have fish in their name though. Where are they getting this fish? Well, not all kingfishers eat fish. They can eat grasshoppers, invertebrates, and some have been seen eating berries. Kingpicker just doesn't quite have the same ring to it if you ask me. They vary greatly in appearance. They can be minuscule, colorful cuties such as the wonderfully dapper dwarf oriental kingfisher. Or they can be large and puppet-like, such as the laughing kookaburra. So kingfishers are actually quite easy to find, mostly because of their rattle. So you'll hear a kingfisher before you'll see one. But today, we're taking a look at the fisher king of the Americas, the belted kingfisher. Their range is immense, and they can be found from Alaska to Venezuela, though North America is where they reign supreme. Canada is a productive breeding ground, and they've managed to fill nearly every river and lake. Their ubiquity has turned them into icons, and their image was used to adorn the $5 bill, until they were bumped for some kids on a toboggan. So today, we're at the shores of Lake Ontario, looking for our local kingfisher.
What'd you see?
Probably just popped off the nest.
It looks like What'd you see?
Oh, I saw a baby red-winged blackbird. It's still got little tufts around its eyes, and its wings are so tiny.
It really wasn't that hard to find them due to their loud and unmistakable call. And of course, their unmistakable look, from which they get their name.
For these belted kingfisher, it's females that have that characteristic orange belt.
The males are just a nice, bright blue. They have a white face and a blue-gray band across their chest. In most bird species, males are the colorful ones, as they use their fancy outfits to attract females, while females are usually more dull-looking, but have better camouflage.
The fact that kingfisher males are less brightly colored than females is actually an unusual event in the bird kingdom.
This area right here is prime kingfisher territory. It has clear, shallow water and trees directly above it. Kingfishers, as their name suggests, are OP fishermen. Their strategy consists of perching above the water, and when they see a viable fish or crustacean, they dive for it. Belted kingfishers can also hover above the water when there aren't any good perching trees around. But in this case, this area offers all the branches they need. Their eyes are like telescopes that can spot very small prey from up to 100 meters away. Each eye has 2 foveas. One is used to spot the prey. It sends a lot of information to the brain to help account for the refraction in the water, so they never miss. The other is better adapted to see underwater, allowing them to adjust their course upon entry. Inside of their eyeballs, they have special oils, which are thought to reduce glare, helping them better spot fish underwater. And since their eyes are crucial to their survival, they protect them while diving, with a semi-translucent third eyelid. While looking for food, they're very territorial, and will let you know when you're cramping their style.
Like I mentioned, the kingfisher is known for its rattle, but when you spook a kingfisher enough or you make it angry enough, there is another sign. The kingfisher will raise its crest. Maybe that's to make itself look bigger. Another thing, they have these little white patches right by their eyes. Even those get raised when the kingfishers are angry. They're really telling you to back off.
Once the coast is clear and their prey is spotted, they dive. During their descent, they can reach speeds of 40 kilometers an hour. Their long beaks break the surface tension of the water, and their slender bodies become hydrodynamic once they hit the water. Even their crest is slicked back to maximize speed. The result is a feathered torpedo of death. The fish won't even know what hit it. They take their fish to a tree and smack it around to kill it. Then they flick it up with a twirl so they can swallow it in a single gulp. Finally, like any good fisher, it cleans off its beak. The kingfisher takes great care of its weapon of choice. Belted kingfishers aren't huge. At most, they can get up to 35 centimeters in length. And yet, they can catch fish larger than that. When they catch fish longer than themselves, they swallow half of it, while keeping the rest hanging out of their mouth. Once the gastric juices have done their magic and dissolved the first half, they swallow the rest. After all the good stuff has been digested, they regurgitate pellets with all the bones, claws, and other non-digestible material. The Queen of England might not be impressed with their manners, but we'll just have to see who wins that evolutionary battle. These pellets have a secondary purpose beyond making room for more fish meat. They're also great construction material.
Belted kingfishers are known to nest in banks and burrows. That's similar to what bank swallows do. What kingfishers do, though, is they dig a little burrow in the bank and then create it in an upward slope. In case the water levels rise too high and water gets in, the babies will be protected in a nice, comfy air pocket that the kingfisher mama has built for it.
The egg chamber is lined with the bone pellets as a form of insulation. That's right, black-belted kingfishers line their burrows with the bones of their prey. It's the stinkiest nursery in the world. But it's surprisingly effective, and chicks become independent at just a month of age, starting out with catching small invertebrates and then moving on to catching fish on the shores of your local watering hole. Ah, seems like a nice life. This might not be the largest, most powerful, or most stylish eagle in the world, but they get the job done.
This is nature at its best right here.
Yeah, he just stole it.
This is the bald eagle.
Right behind me is a bald eagle. Bald eagles have had a tough time on the internet as of late.
Compared to the massive size of the harpy, wedge-tailed, Philippine, and stellar sea eagles, bald eagles are pretty small. The largest bald eagle is only about as heavy as the smallest harpy eagle. But that doesn't mean these fierce predators are simply upgraded pigeons. No offense, pigeons. The bald eagle's wingspan is still huge. It's about 2 meters, and it's on par with even the biggest eagles.
I mean, look at him. Does he look small to you? You will not like this guy when he's angry.
The bald eagle is a species in the genus Haliaetus, also known as the sea or fish eagles. These eagles rule the shoreline with an iron talon. But all of them live exclusively in Canada, northern Mexico, and of course, the United States. The northern birds mostly migrate south in the winter, although some have been known to winter in British Columbia for the annual salmon run.
Being birds of prey, these birds will take whatever they can get to eat, but their favorite food is fish. Isn't that right?
While typically a solitary bird, during the salmon run in the fall, bald eagles gather in massive groups to take advantage of the plenty. The trees quickly fill up with eagles, and real estate along the shoreline is hotly contested. Only the biggest eagles can maintain their prime fishing spots. But even these Goliaths face challengers now and again. Battles can be life or death. Their love of fish is the main reason bald eagles like to make their nests near large bodies of open water, like the ocean coast, marshes, lakes, or riverbeds. If there's fish in that water, it'll do.
Despite being birds of prey, these eagles are largely kleptoparasitic. But I'll let Danielle tell you a little bit more about that, since she got to experience that behavior firsthand.
Despite being America's ultimate symbol of power and freedom, the bald eagle is actually a kleptoparasite, stealing most of its meals from other hard-working animals.
Yeah, he just stole it.
It is absolutely wild out here. I just witnessed a bald eagle dive into the water and steal a fish from a sea lion and then fly right over my head. Easy as that. Just pursued by a whole group of gulls. This is nature at its best right here.
Thanks, Danielle. Bald eagles like to nest in old-growth coniferous or hardwood trees. The perfect nest is near water, has a great view, is 20 meters above ground, and has enough shelter and coverage from nearby trees.
They can also build their nests in swamps, on the shoreline, in pinelands, or even in lone, tall trees in the prairies. And although they do their best to avoid humans, they have been found in large cities like Portland and Vancouver.
One family of eagles even nested in the middle of Harlem, New York in 2010. Hey, I'm squawking here.
A bald eagle's nest is huge, bigger than any other birds in North America. They're typically 2 to 3 meters in both height and diameter. The largest known nest made by any animal ever was the work of a very industrious bald eagle. It was 4 meters deep, 2.5 meters across, and it weighed a ton. A literal ton.
Bald eagles get their name from their distinctive look.
First, there's the white crown. The eagle actually got its name because white-headed was an old-fashioned way of calling someone bald. The rest of their plumage is mainly brown, with some white accents here and there. The eagle has striking yellow eyes, yellow feet, and a sharp yellow beak. Not since Severus Snape has there been such an iconic hook schnoz. Yikes! Throw in the fact that they look like they're wearing shorts, because their feathers don't completely cover their legs. And you've got yourself a very fashionable national bird.
But why is the eagle the symbol of American patriotism?
After the United States became its own nation in 1776, the nation's founding fathers chose an eagle for their seal and emblem because it had always been associated with strength, independence, and authority. It didn't hurt that the ancient Romans had also used eagles as their symbol.
And since the new Americans like to compare themselves to the great and powerful Roman Empire, the bald eagle was a perfect fit. Making it even better is the fact that bald eagles are native only to North America. The bald eagle has a reputation of strength for a reason.
These powerful flyers use thermal convection currents to soar through the air, reaching speeds of 50 to 70 kilometers an hour when gliding, and 120 to 160 kilometers an hour while diving. Speed comes in handy when you're hunting. These ferocious flyers are fast and furious.
Their excellent eyesight also helps. Experts estimate that their vision is about 8 times better than humans. They don't call it eagle eye for nothing.
To catch fish, bald eagles watch the water from their perch or while soaring above in the sky. When they spot lunch, they quickly swoop down to the water and drop their feet right in to grab the fish. Their long talons are curved and razor sharp, perfectly designed to catch and hold their prey.
This is wild.
Rough, bumpy calluses on their toes also help them keep their grip on slippery, wiggly fish.
So we know all about hunting, but what about mating?
When a bald eagle is ready to breed, they'll often head back to where they were born. To court other eagles, they'll chase and swoop around them. They may fly up very high, lock talons with their paramour, and do a free fall before finally separating, just before hitting the ground. Intense, right? They take falling in love to a whole nother level.
Right now, we're in the natural habitat of the bald eagle, and if we're lucky, we'll be able to spot one. Bald eagles mate for life, and if they breed successfully, they will stick together and defend their 1 to 2 kilometer territory near water.
The couple will usually build their nests and lay eggs in February, begin incubating in March, and the eggs will hatch in the late spring. Baby bald eagles are fuzzy and brown. As they grow up, their head will gradually get lighter. They won't have their parents' distinctive white head and yellow bill until they're around 5 years old, which is also when they reach sexual maturity and can start breeding.
The average lifespan of a wild bald eagle is around 20 years. Some common causes of death could be hunting, power line electrocutions, pesticides, human interference, and pollution.
By the 1980s, the number of bald eagles in North America was getting dangerously low, mostly because of a pesticide called DDT, which affected their ability to lay healthy eggs. but government regulations banning the pesticide helped the population recover. The bald eagle was taken off the endangered list in the 90s and off the threatened category entirely in 2007.
So keep on thriving, you stately stud, and do your best to leave some fishes for the rest of us.
Did you see that? How about that? That brown blur going at breakneck speeds is the fastest bird in the world. Oops, did I say bird? I meant the fastest animal in the world. This is the Peregrine Falcon. Blink and you'll miss it. Today, we're at Hawkeye Bird and Animal Control, and I'm going to get up close and personal with some of the most badass birds of prey in the world.
So where we are right now, it's in the middle of very nice open fields, lots of green space, and because of that, I actually hear a lot of other birds around too. There's an oriole singing in the trees, there's some swallows by the nest boxes out there, maybe a couple raptors flying around too. I think they just brought out the first bird of the day. I've got my trusty glove on. It's like a good shoe. I'm excited to see and hold on.
All the crows are gonna react soon.
Hi, I'm Aranya Iyer, and this is Animalogic's World of Birds. This guy here is a peregrine falcon. He belongs to the family Falconidae.
Their scientific name is Falco peregrinus, which literally means wandering falcon. This is a reference to the Arctic peregrine falcons that will migrate great distances during the northern winter. Yup, peregrine falcons live in the Arctic, and North America, Central America, Europe, South America, Africa, Asia, and Australia. Actually, they're found pretty much everywhere, making them the most widespread raptor in the world, except they don't inhabit extreme polar regions like Antarctica.
And New Zealand for some reason. Too much competition, I guess.
Peregrine falcons will live on coasts, cliffs, prairies, tundras, valleys, along mountain ranges, and they've made themselves right at home in our skyscrapers.
If you live in a tall enough building downtown, look outside and you might be lucky enough to spot one.
Peregrine falcons are on the small side for a bird of prey. They're about the same size as a crow, with a body length of 34 to 58 centimeters and a wingspan of 74 to 120 centimeters. Females are about 30% larger than the males. But don't let their small size fool you. These birds are still lean, mean killing machines. Although it depends on the subspecies, the falcon's back and crown is usually somewhere between bluish-black and gray. Their wingtips are black, and their underparts are a whitish or tan color with dark bands.
I love the little sideburns that they have. I think that's supposed to be common for all the falcons. Yeah. Just reminds me of like a biker gang that's walking down with the big sideburns and the big, and the big mustaches.
Their wings are long and pointed, just like the other birds in their genus.
Adult falcons reign at the top of the food chain, and their diet consists of other medium-sized birds.
Pigeons are a particularly popular meal, which is perfect for peregrine falcons trying to make it in the big city. They're also partial to doves, waterfowl, shorebirds, and songbirds.
One thing to watch out for peregrine falcons, though, is their bite. If they really wanted to, they could take a finger out. Their beaks are just so sharp. Peregrine falcons rarely eat mammals, except for bats at night and the odd rodent.
In order to catch their agile prey, peregrine falcons have to be quick, like real quick. When flying normally, they can reach speeds of about 110 kilometers an hour. Pretty good, right? But when they're diving for prey, They have the ability to hit 389 kilometers an hour. This makes them the fastest member of the animal kingdom. They get to these crazy speeds because they're incredibly aerodynamic. They're so perfectly adapted to high speeds that airplane designers have copied their shape to design stealth bombers.
This lightning-fast controlled dive is known as a stoop, and it's a hunting technique used by several different birds of prey.
Now, the falcon doesn't always bust out the stoop while hunting. Sometimes they opt for a good old classic chase. But when they need to dive, this is what they do. First, the falcon soars up to a great height, and when it spots its flying target, it tucks in its wings and takes a steep dive. They start slow, but soon the combination of the bird's aerodynamic body, swept back wing shape, and powerful muscles work together to turn this bird into a feathery missile. Silent, but deadly. But, not in that way. The air pressure from that kind of speed could damage the bird's lungs, but the falcon's small tubercles blow the airflow away from their nostrils.
This makes it easier to breathe by reducing the rate of change of air pressure.
They protect their eyes with their handy-dandy nictitating membrane, which clears debris and tears from their eyes.
This allows them to keep a laser focus on their target.
A peregrine falcon's vision is so good they can pick out prey from a full kilometer away. Nothing escapes them. When the peregrines reach their target, they deliver a perfectly controlled blow to their prey, breaking their back or wings and carrying them away with their talons. Dude didn't stand a chance. Poor guy.
Something that I read about them is that they don't really have those eyebrow ridges. So they've kind of set in, unlike the ones that you see in hawks. They've got big eyebrows, but these are built for speed. So there's less drag.
That's right.
Yeah.
There's less drag.
The peregrine falcon's hunting ability has been revered across millennia, and it's been used in falconry for about 3,000 years.
Peregrines often hunt in tandem, taking turns, diving on their prey until it's caught. They also mate for life, and breeding season is in the spring. Courtship displays include high circling flight by the male and dramatic dives and chases by both falcons. Couples will typically make their nests in scrapes that they scratch out on cliff ledges in the wild and on tall buildings in urban areas. These locations give them a great vantage point to protect their babies from predators, while keeping an eye on any feathery food that may fly by.
The female will lay 3 to 4 eggs, and while both parents do share the incubating duties, she will do most of the work.
After 5 weeks, the chicks hatch. These little guys will take their first flight around 6 weeks old, but will still be dependent on their parents for food for another month and a half, which is around the time they are taught to hunt for themselves.
And unfortunately, around 60% of peregrine falcons don't survive their first year.
Those who do reach sexual maturity at around 2 years old can live up to 20 years, but the average lifespan in the wild is something closer to 13 years old. From the 1950s to the 1970s, peregrine falcons became endangered because they were ingesting DDT, a pesticide that was affecting the amount of calcium in their eggshells. Thinner shells meant mama falcons would accidentally break their eggs just by laying on them. Luckily, humans restricted the use of DDT, bred more falcons in captivity, and did a better job protecting the birds' nests from illegal poachers who wanted peregrine eggs. The falcons' numbers have bounced back, and they're no longer threatened.
It shuffled its feathers around, which I'm assuming means he's comfortable.
Yeah. Cormorants are birds from hell. Satan in disguise, according to John Milton in Paradise Lost. Today, many still see them as pests and ecosystem destroyers. And yet, they have a beautiful side. They're amazing fishers and divers, and their presence signals a healthy ecosystem. So what's actually going on with these strange birds? These are the cormorants. The cormorant has been maligned for centuries. That is possibly because of the ominous pose they strike while perching in a tree, or the way they stare at you with their beady little eyes, or because they represent greed due to the amount of fish they eat and the size of those fish, which sometimes look impossibly ambitious for such a slender bird. Or maybe because to medieval old heads, a bird that swam with the fishes seemed unnatural. And yet, despite the bad rep, they have spread all over the world. So what are they, and what is it that makes them thrive? The cormorants are members of a family of over 40 fish-eating species. Some are known as shags because of their shaggy hairdo and fancy crests, but they're really just extra stylish cormorants. All of them live in coastal regions and hunt by diving into the water and swimming at depths of up to 40 meters. Just look at them go. This swimming behavior is easily the coolest thing about them. So let's dive into how they manage to be the best freedivers in the bird world. There are a few different hunting strategies depending on the species, but generally, cormorants will seek prey from high spots or by floating on the water like a duck. And then, once they spot prey, they'll dive down to get their catch of the day. Their webbed feet propel them underwater, like the fins of a scuba diver. Their plumage isn't waterproof, unlike most waterfowl species. They actually want to get wet so that they can sink more easily and dive to deeper areas. Then they'll secure their catch with their long hooked bills during dives that can last over a minute. The last part of the process is flying up to their favorite tree or post and standing on a tall perch and spreading their wings to dry them in the sun. This is such a simple but perfectly finessed strategy that it has helped them take over the world. Virtually every region of the planet has a dominant cormorant species, and many others who eat slightly different diets. In North America, the double-crested cormorant is king. There are over 2 million of them ranging from Alaska to the Caribbean. The entire Atlantic and Pacific coasts are peppered with them, and a large number of them breed along the shores of the Great Lakes. We'll come back to them later. Just directly south of the double-crested cormorant's realm lives the new tropical cormorants. These birds thrive from the jungles of Mexico to the tundras of Patagonia. And the great cormorant has the largest distribution of all, living in coastal waters from Greenland to New Zealand. Even in Antarctica, the usual exception to animal distribution, you can find Antarctic shags, which start to look a little penguin-y with white bellies and black backs, possibly to be less visible to marine predators like leopard seals. The fact that you can go to basically any body of water in the world and find these guys can be a blessing or a curse, depending on who you ask. There is a history of associating black animals with evil spirits and the macabre, and these birds carry those connotations in their name. Cormorant is a contraction of Corvus marinus, the raven of the sea, with ravens being synonymous with uncleanliness, bad omens, and harbingers of death. In more modern and practical terms, cormorant colonies are often made up of tens of thousands of birds. They eat a lot of fish and destroy tree canopies due to their nesting practices, and harm ground vegetation due to the acidity of their feces. Fishermen perceive them as competition for fish, and they take a toll on fish farm stocks. They're also incredibly loud, grunting and croaking in cacophonies that can be heard from hundreds of feet away. And they are kinda stinky. They regurgitate as self-defense and also puke pellets, kinda like owls, with the indigestible parts of the fish and crustaceans they eat. But really, this is just an animal being an animal, eating what it can and protecting itself in any way possible. This hasn't stopped culls all over the world. In the US, over 100,000 cormorants are allowed to be killed every year, and thousands of eggs are destroyed unofficially. There is a lot of controversy about their actual impact on fisheries, but their negative impact on trees is unfortunately true. My hometown of Toronto holds a colony of over 80,000 double-crested cormorants. Their numbers have exploded over the past few decades, and measures had to be taken to protect the trees along the shoreline.
So, we headed down to the shores of Lake Ontario, home to dozens of bird species and an amazing place to see wildlife. So we just got to Tommy Thompson Park, and first thing we see is a group of like 40 swans. We couldn't help but stop by and see what's up. Getting to watch their mating dance was amazing. But they weren't even the main reason that we're here. They just happen to be some of the incredible creatures that inhabit this area. What we're really here to see are cormorants. They have a nesting site nearby and we're making our way. Finally, we made it to the nesting grounds, where we met with one of the experts managing the local cormorant population.
I'm Andrea Creston, Senior Project Manager with Toronto and Region Conservation Authority, and today we're here at Tommy Thompson Park on the central Toronto waterfront. Tommy Thompson Park is home to the largest breeding colony of double-crested cormorants in North America. The population crashed in the mid-1900s due to impacts of DDT, which was a chemical that was prevalent in the ecosystem. It caused the thinning of their eggshells and they couldn't reproduce. Once that chemical was banned and was cycled out of the ecosystem, the population was able to start a recovery, and we saw cormorants arriving in Toronto in the early 1990s. By 2007, cormorants were nesting on 3 of the 4 peninsulas here at Tommy Thompson Park. They had impacted 24% of the forest canopy within the park, and they'd also started a natural ground nesting colony, which doesn't impact the trees.
Promoting the cormorant's natural ground nesting behavior is a humane and effective strategy to protect tree canopies.
So through the strategy, we discourage nesting in healthy trees, and we encourage the cormorants to nest on the ground. By discouraging them to nest in the trees, it maintains the health of the trees and preserves the tree canopy for all other species within the park.
But how do cormorant nests destroy tree canopies?
Tree nesting cormorants negatively impact the trees that they nest in. First, cormorants have very acidic feces. So when they are nesting in the trees, the excrement rains down, it covers the leaves, so the trees can't undertake photosynthesis as well as they should be able to, so less energy production. Also, the excrement lands on the ground and it changes the soil chemistry. This reduces the amount of nutrients that the trees can absorb, which further reduces their health. In addition, cormorants are compulsive nest builders. They like to build really, really large nests, and these nests become very heavy. So as the tree declines in health, these heavy nests put too much pressure on the branches, and the limbs and branches start to fall from the trees.
Right now, the cormorants are on their southward bound migration and have left their ground nests. This is the only time we have access to this area. The nests are empty, but we can still learn a lot about them based on what they leave behind. We're at the nesting site for the cormorants, and it does look like they have finished for the season. But now we get to explore their nests and what they've left behind. Unfortunately, ground nesting makes the nests more vulnerable to predators like coyotes and raccoons, and some cormorants naturally prefer to nest in elevated spots. So, the Conservation Agency has built them these structures, nicknamed cormdominiums. Cute. For cormorants to nest more comfortably according to their natural nesting preferences.
So the distance between the joints on the nesting platform has been designed based on the ideal distance between nests on the ground. And so on the ground, it's about the average distance between nests is 41 centimeters, which is about the length of 2 necks. So if a cormorant is sitting in one nest and its neighbor is in the nest right beside, the two can come beak to beak, but they're not going to cross each other. They each have their own individual territory and can happily coexist in the colony.
There is some opposition to the birds, mostly because of their perceived effect on fisheries. But studies here have shown no negative effect of cormorants on the fish stocks. They seem to eat mostly an invasive fish species called the alewife, and yet, these misunderstood birds are hated by many. On the flip side, humans have utilized cormorants for their fishing abilities for centuries. Chinese fishermen use them to this day, although mostly as a tourist attraction. But in the past, this type of activity has existed in Lake Titicaca, the Mediterranean, and Japan, as far as we know. The cormorants are unfortunately captive and forced to regurgitate their prey. But at least in these areas, they're seen and appreciated for the beautiful and efficient fishers they are. The mosquito. An animal that kills more people than all other animals combined. Despite our best efforts, these bloodsuckers have been in the zone for over 30 million years. And we don't know how to stop them. The earliest evidence of mosquitoes is found in Canadian amber from about 80 million years ago. And the oldest mosquito full of blood ever found was 46 million years old.
These mosquitoes appeared when our ancestors were still living in trees. They probably fed on megafauna like the Gastornis or Calicotheres.
Over the eons, mosquitoes have diversified, and now there are over 3,000 recognized species. They're technically part of the fly family, Calicidae, and their name is Spanish for little fly.
Not all of them like to gorge themselves on human blood.
Different mosquito species specialize in different animals, including such unlikely prey as birds, snakes, and even fish. Several species feed on human blood, but the vast majority of deaths come from just 3 species. Aedes aegypti transmits dengue fever, chikungunya, Zika, Mayaro, and yellow fever. Anopheles gambiae carries malaria. And Culex pipiens transmits West Nile virus.
The reason that they're so effective at transmitting pathogens is because of their amazing blood-sucking mechanism, their proboscis.
Mosquitoes can live off nectar or honeydew, but females need to drink blood to get the proteins and iron they need to produce eggs. It's a dangerous job as their prey is usually thousands of times larger than them and can easily kill them.
But it's a job at which they've been excelling for millions of years.
To find prey, they use their vision, heat sensors, and chemoreception. Basically, they look for warm, moving bodies that produce carbon dioxide. They can follow a plume of carbon dioxide to its source until it finds a nice landing spot with exposed skin.
Then it's time for the proboscis to work its magic.
Though it may seem like a simple single needle, it's actually a sophisticated mechanism with a chemoreceptive organ and 6 separate needles, protected by a sheath or mantle. The chemoreceptive organ is called the labium. It looks for chemicals in the skin such as lactic acid and sugars in order to find the best place to bite. Ideally, they want to be as close to a blood vessel as possible. Then, 2 serrated needles called maxillae pierce the skin, and 2 other needles called mandibles hold the hole open.
Then the mosquito inserts its other 2 needles.
One of them, the hypopharynx, injects an analgesic and an anticoagulant to prevent the victim from noticing the bite and its blood from clotting. The other needle, the labrum, sucks the blood. It might take a couple of tries and a bit of probing until the mosquito finds the blood vessel. This reminds me of most of my visits to the doctor. As the blood fills the mosquito's abdomen, the mosquito filters out the water from the blood so that it can pack more nutritious red blood cells. Once it's full, the mosquito will leave, having almost tripled its weight.
The itching and swelling comes later, as the prey's immune system kicks in and sends antibodies to go and destroy the remains of the mosquito's saliva.
At this point, the mosquito is ready to lay eggs. The specific location depends on the species and the environment. It can range from ponds to mud to pitcher plants. The eggs come in a variety of shapes, but are most commonly laid as egg rafts in clutches of up to 300 eggs. 1 or 2 days later, they hatch as larvae, or wrigglers. They can immediately swim and hunt small animals in the water column. They're entirely aquatic, but swim up to the surface to breathe through their respiratory siphon, a small tube at the end of their tail. And yes, they breathe through their butts.
After 2 weeks, they pupate.
The comma-shaped pupae are known as tumblers. They can still swim, but they stop eating for up to 4 days. During this period, they breathe through 2 breathing tubes called trumpets. When the mature mosquito emerges from the water, it will first look for nectar for sustenance. But their life is so short, they only live for between 4 and 6 weeks, and they immediately switch gears to reproduction.
They go cruising for a bruising.
Most mosquitoes only get 1 blood meal in their life. Those who bite multiple people are the ones who spread disease. If a mosquito bites an infected person, it can host their viruses and bacteria, and if it bites another person, it can transmit those pathogens. It's essentially like sharing needles.
The fight against mosquito-borne diseases is ongoing.
No definitive battles have ever been won, but very interesting strategies have been deployed. Non-biting male mosquitoes with a self-suppressing gene are being released into the wild. When they mate with normal females, they produce offspring with a low chance of survival past that pupa stage. This reduces the number of mosquitoes over time. Another strategy is infecting mosquitoes with the Wolbachia bacteria, which increases their resistance to RNA viruses such as the dengue and West Nile. The mosquitoes will eventually transmit the bacteria to other mosquitoes, increasing their herd immunity to these viruses. This strategy is preferable, as it doesn't decrease the number of mosquitoes in the world, which would throw ecosystems out of balance. It simply prevents those mosquitoes that are vectors for disease from contracting the diseases in the first place.
As of today, mosquito-borne diseases still kill over 700,000 people a year.
As the Earth warms, mosquitoes are able to expand their range dramatically, increasing their ability to transmit diseases.
Eu sou o mosquito da dengue. Vou te picar? Pode? Não.
But in the future, new strategies will be used. Larvae eating fish, improved sanitation practices, and advanced parasitoids will be used to fight mosquito-borne diseases.
And then a better world will be possible, a world with fewer mosquito bites. Wasps are the worst thing about the end of summer, yet it turns out they might just be my new favorite animal. First things first, wasp taxonomy is weird. Wasps are very closely related to ants, bees, and sawflies, as you may have guessed from their appearance and fastidious nature. In fact, some wasps are more closely related to bees than they are to other species of wasp. The general definition for a wasp is any insect in the Hymenoptera order and Apocrita suborder that is not a bee or ant. There are a lot of different species of wasp, over 100,000. Since the group is so large, many species exhibit dramatically different behavior. For example, some wasps, like the bane of everyone's summer, the yellow jacket, are eusocial. This means that they live in colonies, raise young that aren't their own, and have specific jobs, similar to ants and many bees. Yet, many other species of wasps are solitary and only ever interact with other wasps when mating. The species that do build nests build them out of wood pulp mixed with saliva, and the insides of their nest is often velvety to the touch. It's not just differing behavior though. Often, you wouldn't know a wasp was a wasp just by looking at it. Wasps come in a large variety of shapes, sizes, colors, and the only thing that the entire group has in common is their thin waist. Their bodies range in size from the giant, 7 centimeters long, to the tiny, 0.1 millimeters long. Wasps have been around annoying people for a really long time, 150 million years to be specific. However, the first wasps to appear that resembled modern wasps were around 60 million years ago. As far as interactions with humans go, it's safe to say that they've been around ruining barbecues for as long as we've been around having them. In fact, possibly the earliest reference to wasps in human literature comes from the Greek comedy from 422 BC titled The Wasp, their name coming from a chorus of old jurors featured in the play. Similar to their much more popular relatives, the bees, wasps do pollinate. They're just not very good at it. You see, bees are covered in fuzz, and when they land on a flower, the pollen easily sticks to their bodies. On the other hand, most wasps are slick, and the pollen just doesn't take hold nearly as well. Wasps primarily eat nectar, and as the season winds down, their hunting time grows shorter. They grow hungrier, angrier, and more desperate. In fact, some might say they begin to terrorize. Which is why they're such assholes in the late summer and early autumn. They fall prey primarily to small birds and me with a newspaper, though some species, like the giant Japanese hornet, do fall prey to the larger predators like the honey buzzard, which are relatives of the hawk. Now, despite the reputation for being the literal worst, there is something worse than a wasp. They're larvae. Wasp larvae are the biggest jerks in the animal kingdom. You heard it here first, folks. First of all, many of them are parasitoid, meaning that they are deposited and raised in a host body. That's a nice way of saying some wasps lay eggs in their prey. Watch out, Peter! Then, the larvae will eat the host from the inside out. Though some larvae won't devour the host from the inside, and instead will just eat all of the food that the host consumes. Other species of wasp will lay their eggs in egg clusters from other species, and their larvae will eat the competing eggs. So, that's nice. Though it's the aptly named emerald jewel wasp who takes the cake for most horrific and craziest reproductive cycle. This wasp will find a cockroach about 4 times its size, sting it to take it out of commission, and then it will sting its head with surgical precision, disabling the part of the roach's brain that controls dopamine output. This stops the output, basically taking away all free will of movement from the cockroach, turning it into a zombie roach, which is a phrase I hoped I'd never have to say. After this struggle, to recoup some lost energy, the wasp will rip off one of the roach's antennae for a little roach blood pick-me-up. They will then lead their new zombie pet to a tunnel, where they'll lay their eggs on the zombie roach and then blockade said tunnel. The eggs will hatch, and the larvae will burrow into the still living, still zombified cockroach and feed on its insides. A few weeks later, a fully developed emerald jewel wasp will burst out of the roach carcass like a frickin' xenomorph and go on to repeat the cycle. So yeah, fun times. Some wasp species, like the Polistes salsifer, are brood parasites, meaning that they'll lay their eggs in the nests of other wasps, who will mistakenly raise them as their own. Not all species of wasps are parasitoid, and instead can be solitary. After mating, the female will build a nest for the larvae, sometimes leaving the carcass of another insect in the nest for the larvae to feed on. This is called mass provisioning as opposed to progressive provisioning, which is when the mom has to constantly bring food for the larvae. Since adult wasps only ever really eat nectar, if you see a wasp catch another insect, it's to feed their babies. Some wasps' larvae even control the adults. Hornet adults can't digest solid food, so they will gather solid food to bring to their larvae, which can eat solids. The larvae will digest the food and produce a nutrient-rich liquid that the adults can eat. Possibly the most interesting wasp is the panda ant. You heard me. Despite what their name might have you believe, panda ants or velvet ants are a family of wasps that resemble ants, and the females are wingless. They come in a variety of bright colors, though it's the black and white ones that give them their name. They may look cute, but don't let that distract you. These girls pack a mean punch. They have been nicknamed cow killers, and their sting has been rated a 3 out of 4 on the Schmidt Pain Index for insect bites. Since they are not eusocial and are solitary, panda ants are classified as wasps instead of ants. I told you wasp taxonomy is weird. But next up, we have the marvelously named tarantula hawk. These gorgeous wasps have a sting that rates a 4 out of 4 on the Schmidt-Payne Index, and they are one of only 3 animals to achieve this rating, ranking second only to the bullet ant. Schmidt describes the sting as blinding, fierce, and shockingly electric. It's supposed to paralyze your body for 5 minutes. So yeah, crazy bite, but that's not the best part. They were named tarantula hawks for a reason. They're huge, measuring 5 centimeters long, and they kill tarantulas. But not in a regular, boring, let's kill this thing for food type of way. Nope. Tarantula hawks are much more clever than that. Similar to the emerald jewel wasp, they will sting the tarantula to permanently paralyze it, and then they will lay their eggs inside the still living tarantula. The larvae will then hatch and eat their way out of the tarantula, who lives just long enough to bear witness to this entire horrifying experience. But they aren't the only big wasp out there. Meet the giant Japanese hornet, a wasp that has truly earned its name. They measure over 4 centimeters long and have a wingspan of over 6 centimeters. These wasps are eusocial and live in colonies with thousands of other giant Japanese hornets. That is a literal nightmare. These wasps are super helpful and super harmful. Often, farmers love them because they control crop pest populations, but apiarists, on the other hand, hate them because they can decimate a honeybee colony in a couple of hours. European honeybees are especially vulnerable as they have no evolutionary defenses against these behemoths 4 times their size. About 30 giant Japanese hornets can kill about 30,000 European honeybees in just under 3 hours. They attack, picking off the puny honeybees one by one, slaughtering their population and ignoring the fallen carcasses of the honeybees, as that's not what they're there to eat. When the honeybee defenses have fallen, the hornets will enter the colony, feast on the larvae, and bring their flesh back to feed their queen. It's pretty brutal. Japanese honeybees fare a bit better than their European cousins, as they've had the benefit of evolving alongside the hornets. While the Japanese honeybees are still no match in size for the hornets, they do have one strategy, and it's pretty smart. They will lure a single hornet into the heart of their colony, and right when it's about to go to town on their larvae, the honeybees will pounce. Hundreds of them will pile on top of the hornet, vibrating and creating a convection oven to cook the hornet alive. Honeybees can tolerate a slightly higher temperature threshold than the hornets, and when their pile reaches 47 degrees Celsius, the hornet is done for. If you ever run into a giant Japanese hornet, I suggest you get out of there. When they sting, they inject large amounts of venom, and that venom is so powerful it can dissolve human skin. And finally, the warrior wasp. These eusocial wasps look like they're made of obsidian, and along with the bullet ant and tarantula hawk, are the only insects in the world to rate a 4 on the Schmidt-Payne Index. He described the pain as torture. You're chained to the flow of an active volcano. Why did I start this list? Warrior wasps, as their name suggests, are very aggressive and attack in large groups. Not only that, but when they feel threatened, they can beat their wings against their bodies to make a sound similar to that of marching soldiers. As annoying as wasps can be, they play an incredibly valuable role in the ecosystem. Wasps are apex predators, responsible for keeping arthropod populations in check. Arthropods, including spiders, mites, and other insects, are the largest phylum in the world, and without wasps to regulate their populations, the world would be overrun with a plague of pests. This struggle between predator and prey is as interesting as anything you'd see on the plains of the Serengeti, just on a macro scale. Even better, this amazing clash between insects is something that you can see right at home in your backyard.
Which one of these is a bedbug? This? Or this? How about this? Nope. None of those are bedbugs. Despite the huge hold they have on our psyche, with weekly reports of infestations in cities around the world, we know surprisingly little about them. Paris is so overrun with them that hotels have had to close for weeks. Toronto, New York, and Chicago are also experiencing outbreaks. There have even been reports of bedbugs in public transit. Bedbugs can wreak havoc in your life, feasting on your blood and destroying your ability to sleep in peace. They're experts at catching rides on your clothes and spreading from home to home. And once they're settled somewhere, they can last a month without eating, waiting for the right time to strike.
There's a little bug hiding right in there.
Today, we're diving deep into the world of one of the scariest nighttime terrors, bedbugs.
Bedbugs can turn your dreams into nightmares by nibbling on your exposed skin. They're stealthy, hiding in your mattress seams, headboards, and even electrical outlets.
Ooh. Ooh.
Bedbugs have lived with us throughout human history and spread to every city in the world. Wherever there's humans, there's bedbugs. Their evolution is a bit of a mystery. Scientists used to think that they were general bloodsuckers that became bat blood specialists before eventually jumping to human beings. But the discovery of a 110 million-year-old bedbug fossil debunked that theory. Bats appeared about 60 million years ago, which means that for at least the first 50 million years of their existence, bedbugs were feeding on currently unknown hosts.
It's cool to think that T-Rex and other Cretaceous dinos had bedbug issues just like we do today. Unfortunately, bedbugs require animals that return to the same nest every night, which big dinos were unlikely to do. They were likely going for smaller animal blood.
Currently, there are two main species, the common bedbug and the tropical bedbug. Since they've evolved to be human parasites, they're comfortable wherever humans live. They have adapted to our regular sleeping habits and large rooms, safe of insect-eating predators. We gave them safe haven and easy access to our blood.
You might be wondering, why are they so obsessed with blood? How do you evolve to be a vampire? Bedbugs, of course, are not alone.
There are around 15,000 animal species who drink blood, many of which we covered in our Bloodsuckers episode of Second Nature.
Some species drink blood in order to survive or reproduce. These animals are exclusively hematophagous. Others do it as a secondary source of nutrition. They practice hematophagy opportunistically.
The earliest known vampires are proto-mosquitoes, and they lived about 220 million years ago.
Yet not all bloodsuckers trace their roots back to these mosquitoes. Vampirism has evolved separately at least 6 times in invertebrates.
The thing is, blood is super calorie rich and is full of iron, salt, protein, and fat. A pint of blood has more calories than a pint of beer. Luckily for the bedbugs, they're always in bulk phase.
There are some other nutrients that vampires need that aren't easily available in blood. For these, gut bacteria break down compounds in the blood meals and turn them into absorbable nutrients. Kinda like how cows' gut bacteria turn grass into almost all the nutrients they need.
Being a vampire is extremely dangerous, as they're usually parasites to a much larger animal that could easily kill them. In the case of bedbugs, we have the ability to crush them, poison them, steam them, and even wipe out entire colonies in a single day.
Bedbugs have to pick the perfect time to come out of their hiding spots to feed. But being insects, they don't really have a profound understanding of our sleeping habits. All they can do is 1. Identify a source of heat, which is usually a large, warm-blooded animal. 2. Detect carbon dioxide to confirm that the warm body is alive and full of blood. And 3. Sense no movement, which indicates that the coast is clear to bite and extract blood undetected. Then it's chow time. The bedbug looks for exposed skin, inserts its proboscis, and injects a 45-protein saliva cocktail, rich in anticoagulants and numbing agents. This makes blood thinner and easier to slurp up, and makes the host unlikely to notice until it's too late. But then comes the most dangerous part for the bedbug. When it's full of blood, it balloons up and becomes more noticeable, cumbersome, and slow. It's at this stage that they most often get caught and squished. An adult bedbug is about 5 millimeters long and 2 millimeters wide. But after a proper meal, when they drink about 6 times their weight, they become rotund. This is one of the most dramatic temporary increases of body size in the animal world. Bedbugs are kind of like little hulks. If the Hulk was a giant blood-filled water balloon. With all this added weight, their tiny little legs barely keep up, but they can still reach speeds of about 0.07 kilometers an hour. It doesn't seem like much, but relative to body size, they're way faster than you. So no need to dunk on them for their clumsy running. Usually, their colony is only a few meters away from their prey's bed. It only takes a few minutes to return to safety, and if they do, they'll be satisfied for about a week.
So this is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for any sort of speckling. See, this is all bedbug feces. There's the casing right there. There's an actual bug in there, you can see it.
Young bedbugs need a blood meal before every molt. They go through 5 nymph stages before they're sexually mature, but that doesn't mean they grow slowly. It only takes a couple of months for a pair of bedbugs to turn into a colony of 35,000. Once they become adults, they can survive months without feeding. So old luggage and unused beds can sustain colonies for extended periods of time. They're like the cursed spawn of mosquitoes and ticks, hiding in crevices, feeding on you at night, and using your blood to make babies.
So this client tells me she noticed this 2 weeks ago. She may have noticed them 2 weeks ago, but she's had them a lot longer than 2 weeks. See, like they're just friggin' everywhere.
A female can lay up to 10 eggs a day, and a total of 500 in a lifetime. It may seem like easy work to drink the blood of sleeping people and lay eggs, but bedbugs have one of the most hardcore mating strategies, the very appropriately named traumatic insemination. Bedbug females have a genital tract that they use to lay eggs, but it's strictly a one-way street. Instead, males stab females in the chest with their sharp, hook-like needle penises. Insects don't have a closed circulatory system like we do. They don't have veins and arteries taking blood to every part of their body. Their hemolymph, which is the insect equivalent of blood, travels more freely around the body. So when the male stabs the female, the sperm mixes with the hemolymph and eventually reaches the ovaries to fertilize the eggs. Nobody knows how or why this strategy evolved. The females are passive when it happens, but the wounds can become infected. Multiple males can traumatically inseminate the same female, and some males even inseminate other males. It's a chaotic system, but one that has helped them take over the world. With the bedbug epidemic running rampant in most countries, we have to consider ourselves lucky for one thing. Bedbugs don't give you diseases, as far as we know. Mosquitoes, fleas, and ticks are some of the world's deadliest animals because they can pick up pathogens after biting an infected host and spread them to other hosts. Bedbugs don't transmit malaria or other deadly diseases, but their bites do have negative effects. The anticoagulants and other proteins in their saliva are eventually identified by the immune system and turn into itchy bumps. The more bites you get, the better the immune system becomes at identifying them, and the reaction becomes faster and stronger. For some people, they turn into hives and red rashes, while a lucky 20% of the population never gets any reaction at all. Some of the main issues are related to how we react to them. Scratching them in excess can lead to infections. and the knowledge of the presence of blood-sucking parasites in your bed can lead to anxiety, insomnia, and delusional parasitosis, a mental disorder where you think that there's parasites on you even when there aren't. These effects, combined with their quick reproduction and the fact that they can hitch rides on clothing and luggage, have made them a real problem in big cities. Paris is currently having a crisis, with some bedbugs having even been found in public transit. There's a lot of research going into how to deal with these blood-sucking devils in the most efficient and definitive way. In some cases, fumigating your entire home and washing all your clothes and bedding is necessary. It's an expensive and time-consuming battle. Hotels and other businesses affected by bedbugs take a big hit in revenue and reputation. Some devices, like bedbug monitors, help discover infestations at the early stages. Research is ongoing, but companies like the Bedbug Foundation are working on technologies to detect bedbugs based on the bug's behavior and biology. If you do end up getting bedbugs, and I hope you don't, please call an exterminator. There are some things you can do to find them and destroy them, but an exterminator will know exactly where to look and how to deal with them. Honeybees are adorable. They're fuzzy, colorful, and make delicious honey. They also coordinate attacks on bears and other mammals for the greater good of the colony. How did an animal so cute become such a badass? What are the secrets of the honeybee stinger? And why do they die after stinging? This is the science of the venom harpoon, the honeybee stinger. Honeybees have one of the most hardcore defense mechanisms on Earth. When they sting a large animal, like a mammal, their stingers get lodged in their foe's skin, and the bee dies. This is common knowledge, but it isn't common behavior. Most venomous insects can easily inject their venom without dying. Wasps, ants, and even other bees sting and live to fly another day. So why are the cutest insects the most dramatic ones? Why do they need to die for the greater good? And how can losing brave warriors possibly benefit the colony? These are surprisingly complicated questions, so let's dig in. The bee stinger is basically a venom-injecting harpoon. If you zoom in, you'll see two barbed blades and a stabilizing structure to hold them in place. The blades are controlled by muscles in the bee's abdomen and are thrust one at a time in an alternating pattern. As the blades dig into the skin, the backward-facing barbs catch into the fleshy parts, helping them dig deeper and deeper. The stabilizing structure is connected to the venom reservoir and deposits it as the blades penetrate the skin. Okay, that's terrifying, but it's not too different from other stingers, or even the proboscis of a mosquito. It's a knife connected to a stiff hose, kind of like a bayonet. The only difference, which is a huge difference, is the backwards-facing barbs. The barbs, much like the barbs of the spines of a cactus, are designed to make the stabbing easy, but the removal almost impossible. It's a bit counterintuitive, but a barbed stinger goes in easier than a smooth stinger. The barbs help concentrate the force at the tip of the spear, so the tiny honeybee needs less force to pierce the tough skin of a bear or a human. But, because there's always a but in nature, the barbs make it much harder to remove the stinger. The bee would need about 10 times more force to take it out than it needed to put it in. And quite simply, she ain't that strong. So instead of getting stuck forever and then quickly getting squashed by the mammal, the bee flies away, and the stinger gets ripped out of its body. The venom sac stays attached and continues to pump venom after the bee has escaped. This is called sting autotomy, and it's an amazing way to inject the maximum amount of venom and cause the maximum amount of pain. The ripping off of the stinger also releases alarm pheromones, so at the same time as the mammal is being injected with ouch juice, chemicals are in the air to tell the other bees to do the same. This is how you end up with one of those classic My Girl situations. Unfortunately, it isn't a clean break. Along with the venom sac, parts of the abdomen, digestive system, and muscles of the honeybee are ripped off, which inevitably causes it to die. But sometimes it takes up to 5 days for the bee to finally pass away. And during this time, they can still chase the mammal or even bite it. Yup, bees can bite apparently.
We don't even know how much it hurts. We don't even know for sure if bees feel pain at all the way that we understand it, but that's a question for another episode. What we do know is that bees are very motivated to protect their colonies and will make the mammals suffer for a couple of hours and then be very itchy for a few more days. The idea of max pain is to discourage the mammal from ever getting close to bees again. But this is unlikely to happen because honey is undeniably delicious.
You've probably noticed that I've been calling the bee's mortal enemy a mammal. This is because these gut-wrenching stings are only lethal when they're on mammals or other large animals with elastic flesh and skin. Our inherent squishiness is what traps the stinger in our skin. When bees fight other insects with hard exoskeletons, the stinger doesn't get stuck. That means they can sting multiple times, just like wasps and ants.
But still, sacrificing themselves by tearing their guts apart is a pretty extreme behavior. Why would a honeybee choose to do this? And how could this have evolved?
Female workers, which are the only members of the colony who can sting, already don't get to reproduce. Only their mom, the queen bee, gets to reproduce. Their job is to make sure their mom has as many babies as possible. And if it means dying to protect their mom and their siblings, that's a sacrifice they instinctively make. Colonies have thousands of honeybees. Losing a few workers to scare off an existential threat is more than worth it.
Speaking of their mom, the queen bee has a similar stinger structure to the worker bees, except she uses it to lay her eggs. Their ancestors used those hoses exclusively for reproduction, but over time, some species adapted to also use them as venomous hypodermic needles. Queens also have a stinger, but it's smaller, less barbed, and used mostly to fight other queens.
Honeybees are not the only social insects that sacrifice themselves for the horde. Camponotus ants, also known as exploding ants, can crack open their exoskeletons and release sticky chemicals to immobilize predators and rival ants. Globigermes termites also do the same thing to fight off ants.
So really, it's not that strange for insects to sacrifice themselves. But some others are perfectly happy stinging you over and over again. This is the case with the most annoying insect of the summer, the yellow jacket wasp.
Yellow jackets are everywhere these days. They have found in humans a really consistent source of food. They love sugary foods to get energy for themselves and protein-heavy snacks to bring back to the colony to feed the larvae. If you try to fight them off, you'll get quickly stung and the wasp will fly away to continue looking for food elsewhere. They're the worst.
The reason they don't die is simply because their stingers are smooth. This means the stinger doesn't get stuck, so it can be used multiple times. The trade-off is that each sting injects less venom compared to a honeybee sting. So why did they go that way?
There are two major differences. First of all, honeybee predators are usually very large, like bears, who try to destroy the colony and eat all the honey. They don't give a bother if the whole colony collapses after that. So the bees need to send a very strong message and provide the most painful sting they can muster in their little body. Wasp predators are usually smaller. Birds, small mammals, and other insects might try to break into the colony to eat the nutritious larvae. They get attacked a lot. So, being able to fight multiple times is more valuable than causing a lot of damage but just once.
But secondly, and probably most importantly, wasps hunt.
Adult yellow jackets survive mostly on a diet of sugar, but the larvae need a lot of protein and other nutrients to grow and reach metamorphosis. So the adults hunt small insects and other invertebrates to bring back to the colony to feed the babies. The babies, in return, secrete a sugar-rich goop out of their mouth, which the adults happily drink up. Yeah, cool. That's nice. I guess. Disgusting, but nice. The babies pull their own weight since they're just a few days old. They will one day grow to ruin our picnics and steal our food to exchange it for sweet baby goop. So there you have it. The combination of having to fight off massive predators and inject huge amounts of venom, combined with the fact that they're vegan and don't need their stingers to hunt, has created the perfect conditions for honeybees to develop single-use defense mechanisms. It makes sense, and it's pretty cool to see how evolution solved this problem for the bees. If you want to learn more about the amazing world of bees, check out this episode we made a couple of years ago. And if you can support any bee-protecting NGOs, please do so. Bees play a super important role in our ecosystems. We really need them. Stunning, sly, and ruthless, with legs that go all the way to her abdomen. This bulbous beauty could knock you out with just one bite. But don't jump to conclusions. This iconic arachnid is mostly misunderstood. She's not a bad girl, she just looks like one. This is the Black Widow. Black widows are a type of spider perhaps best known for, well, you know, sexual cannibalism. That memorable behavior is where the black widow got its name. But you might be surprised to learn that the rumors of their treachery are greatly exaggerated. There are over 30 species of black widow, ScarJo notwithstanding, but only a few of those choose to make their lovers a post-coital snack. So let's not stereotype these venomous vixens. Some black widows sport the iconic all-black body and the red hourglass-shaped markings on their abdomen. But most species actually come in a wide variety of colors, from brown to red to completely black. Their life expectancy also depends on their species. Females generally live a lot longer and are much, much larger than the males. Black widows have been around for about 100 million years and can be found all over the world. They like warm, dry climates and prefer to spin their webs in dark, sheltered spots close to the ground. They feed on flies, mosquitoes, beetles, caterpillars, worms, grasshoppers, and hydra. You know, typical spider food. When the black widow catches their prey, they wrap more silk around them and paralyze them with venom. Their venom is 15 times more toxic than a rattlesnake's. Not exactly a peaceful death. Black widows use their sense of smell for a lot of the same things we do: avoiding predators, tracking down food, and finding shelter. But chemoreception is far more important for them. It's actually their main means of communication. The chemicals used to communicate are called pheromones. Most people associate the word with scents that make you attractive, but in the animal kingdom, they play a much larger role. Pheromones have been used since some of the very first animals, and possibly by other life forms before them. When it's time to mate, the female black widow releases pheromone-laced silk onto her web. Those pheromones evaporate into the air and float far and wide, acting as a siren song to attract potential mates. Come to my web! You cannot resist me! Ah-ha-ha-ha! Thank you. That is my impression of Lolth, Queen of Spiders. The pheromone signal becomes strong thanks to a process called sender-receiver coevolution. The females who send the most attractive chemicals are the most likely to pass their genes on to the next generation.
Enter the male widow. Like the females, this little guy has inherited quite the impressive genes from his 4 spiders. The ability to detect female pheromones in an ocean of chemicals.
It's thanks to evolution that these two have mastered the science of sexual communication. It's time for this male to show off just how good he is at picking up on sexy signals. If he's actively searching for a mate, he'll crawl up to a high place and wave his arms around a bunch.
And then he'll smell them to see if he's caught any pheromones. Very subtle stuff.
When he gets a hit, this spider heads straight to his potential partner, like a moth to a flame, or, like a male spider to a black widow's web.
Some of you may be thinking, oh no, this poor little Spider-Man, he has no clue he's about to become brunch.
But remember, only a few species are sexual cannibals. And for those femme fatales famous for feeding on males, well, it's only if they're in the mood for a snack. If the male is smart, he'll mate with her after she's eaten.
How does he know if she's full? Chemoreception. If his sense of smell tells him that she's starving, he instinctively knows not to get any closer.
The female's web is covered in pheromonal discharge. Now we get to see how those pheromones work via direct contact. When the male touches the web, he's sort of tasting the female's pheromones and gets kicked into romance mode.
The chemicals trigger his courting behavior. This doesn't mean wine, roses, and back rubs. Nope. Black widows opt for vibrations.
The female black widow doesn't even care that her mate seems weak and tiny. She's more concerned about his moves. And although her pheromones may have communicated she was looking for a mate, she may not be entirely sold on this male. Get off! Then, his plan hits a snag. Another, bigger male, who's also been attracted by the female's pheromones, wants to shoot his shot. And he's not wasting any time. He immediately mounts the female black widow. And it's on! The two spiders battle it out for the female's attention. Who will win? Even though the smaller male put in all the hard work to court the female, the new guy has the edge because of his size. Please, take it somewhere else, boys. As usual, the bigger male wins out. Now to enjoy his success. He tries his luck at inserting his 2 palps, the sexual organs around his fangs that look like black balls, into the female's epiginum, the genital opening on her abdomen. Success! As soon as the palp goes inside the female, it curls up like a spring, and then he gives her his sperm. Aw, how sweet.
Mating can last up to 20 minutes. Right about now, those hypnotic pheromones start to wear off. Will the male end up in the mouth of his mate? Or is this his lucky day?
Whew! He walks away unscathed. He managed to survive a tango with the iconic Black Widow. What a badge of honor! Once the male leaves, the female can now lay her eggs in a gorgeous silky egg sac. These sacs can hold up to 300 eggs, and the sperm her male partner gave her can produce up to 10 viable egg sacs, which means this one tryst could result in 3,000 new baby spiders. Bye-bye bikinis! All in all, a highly productive day for black widows. Well done, you two. A credit to your species. This fluffy bandit strikes terror in the hearts of every small creature it meets. It's a tireless hunter whose belly is a hunger-fueled bottomless pit and whose domain is constantly expanding. Or is it an adorable magical creature who has charmed the hearts of millions? This cutie has many faces, and they're all masked. This is the raccoon dog.
Hi, I'm Danielle Dufault, and you're watching Animalogic. Today, we're talking about one of the cutest and fluffiest animals I've ever seen. They're also kind of the black sheep of their family, but it's really not their fault.